Book Land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you could only be here for one reason, and that's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you by ComicBook Clique. And as you know, I am never alone. Sir, please introduce yourself.
I am Pee Wee Herman's Word of the Day, Gregory Thomas, aka GT Rebirth. And Don Serrano, do you know what the word of the day is?
What is the word of the day?
The word of the day is multiverse.
Multiverse!
Because if you haven't noticed, we have been bevied with a whole lot of multiversal style content lately.
It is out of control. Not to say I have any personal dabbles in alternate worlds or realities. Recently, check out the, now I feel like I'm in a comic book, right?
Yeah.
Asterisk. Check out the Major Issues Annual. Psst. But
Stan the man says.
no, but between, Enter Spider-Verse was coming out to theaters,
Yes, it is.
branching out the different multiversal Spider-Man, between the Elseworlds crossover, which we will be getting into deep and heavy, and all of this,
But we've also got the Avengers trailer that just came out that revealed that the Ant-Man made it out of the microverse?
Exactly. And
maybe the key to helping everyone solve this big calamity?
It seems like the worlds we knew in various different forms have gotten way, way bigger, but thankfully we are here to chop it up about all things multi, micro, and uni versus versal right here as part of the Major Issues Podcast. But yeah, let's get right into that Avengers trailer before we do a deep dive into the CW Elseworlds crossover. And what's funny is our very first episode of the Major Issues Podcast covers the Avengers trailer and the CW crossover. So this is a bit of a homecoming for the Major Issues Podcast. But
that's a completely different movie.
Where were you? Where were you when the trailer broke the internet, where the trailer, the tree that fell in the woods fell?
I was just waking up.
Were you?
And I turned on my phone and I just saw all the Twitter alerts and all that. Like, Avengers Endgame trailer. I was just like, well, this is happening now.
Yeah, it's happening. Something's happening. No, I thought I was actually just get out of the shower. I was getting ready to leave for work. I actually ended up being 10 minutes late for work because I had to. Like, how could I not?
Did you just hunch over and start crying again?
I turned, I had already turned off majority of my appliances. I was getting ready to, literally get out the door. And when I was told about the trailer, I walked back into my room, turned on my projector, because this all, you know what I'm saying? I have to get into all
You have to take it in correctly.
Yes,
you can't just look at that on a small cell phone.
No, so I got it all in, and I don't even know how I felt at the end of it. It's so weird how desperate / I guess kids in today's world call it thirsty I was for footage or any news regarding this movie. I felt like with the long con game that they have been playing with, like DC movies and Marvel movies, we get this stuff 18 months out sometimes.
Yeah,
we knew about every step of Suicide Squad from the beginning,
right,
all the way to when the film came out. So the fact that this film is less than a year away.
But I mean, by very example too, what did Doctor Strange only recently start filming?
Right, because we're hearing that they're like,
yeah, but we knew months ago that it's probably going to be Nightmare.
No, definitely, and they said, I saw an article maybe today or yesterday that was it's confirmed Doctor Strange has the same director, and I was like, I thought we dealt with this a long time ago.
Right, which I'm happy about because you like to see the same. You like to see the same driver for sequels and whatnot.
Definitely.
And before you end up with the Star Wars mess where it's different directors, have fun with that.
Is there a more important sequel than this film though? Than what we now know is called Avengers Endgame. The title that no one would possibly ever guess. Ever. But it was set in an Avengers movie and people were like, Endgame? They're like, no, definitely not Endgame.
To a degree, no, because it is possibly the most impressive and ambitious cinematic undertaking ever. Yeah, there is nothing that has had this long of a connective tissue. The only thing close to it, which isn't really close to it at all, is the idea that we've been making James Bond's films since the 40s? Yeah. Sure, but they're not connected. Right. There's no through line. We just tell a different Bond story, and occasionally the actor changes.
Yeah.
this is like this is connective tissue so deep that you almost can't jump in anymore.
And I was thinking about that as well. You know, there was a lot of talk about whether or not this film even had to come out with a trailer.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was on the side that was at least trying to, hypothetically live in a world where they didn't have to put one out. I was, like, trying to think of how that would work. And I'm like, you know, big banners with the date of when the movie's coming out is all you need. Because what I believe, and I could be completely wrong, is that no one's going into Endgame as their first Marvel's film. You understand? Maybe you might get some stragglers, people bringing their dates or it's not like you're bringing your kids. Like, they would have seen everything else at this point.
Right.
What does this movie even mean to somebody who hasn't? Like, we argued that Infinity War. What does Infinity War look to people who haven't seen everything? But I think that for the most part, Infinity War is fine. Like, there might be a couple of personal relationship stuff that you don't get.
There are small eggs that you won't exactly crack because you don't have the context for them.
Right.
Like, you don't necessarily have the context for why Spider-Man means so much to Iron Man.
Yeah.
Or rather, I say why Peter Parker means so much to Tony Stark.
Or what's going on between Steve and Tony.
You don't know why Steve and Tony aren't talking, but you do understand that, like, a child just died in front of Tony, and it's kind of had an effect on him. Yeah.
But they also do a lot of heavy lifting in that film, right? Because there's like the little speech that he gives about him being in space. That you see Tony scold Spider-Man, so you get to see Spider-Man's like, oh my god, I'm like fangirl kind of thing, and you get to see Tony's like, listen, you have to listen or you're gonna die kind of thing. Right. So you get that, and you get the gravitas of when he says like, we broke up like the Beatles, and Hulk's like, are you kidding me? How did you break up?
It's just it is a shallower experience.
Definitely, I would say
you can enjoy the movie, but it's going to be a much more shallow experience than if you've gotten all the context going in.
But is there any experience if you like what we talk about a shallow experience if you've never seen the MCU films and seeing Infinity War? Endgame got to be an alien, right? At that point, is there anything to touch on?
Endgame, you've got to be pretty thick in the mud.
Yeah, because
it's too connected to the last film.
Even if you explain the decimation, that's the majority of what this film or what this trailer is showing is that slightly is showing, because you don't get to see the world really reacting to the decimation more than you get to see certain Avengers, their mindsets, the survivors,
and the massive amount of survivors' guilt.
For Thor, you've seen Thor is like, this is.
I've just gone for the head.
You can see him thinking about it a million times over. I did everything I was supposed to do.
He looks like a star batter that was just like, if I'd have just swung a second earlier.
But that's another thing. Like, Cap is gonna have no regrets because he tried his hardest, and same thing with other members of that team.
But I think Cap has the same problem you get from early Cap. He has like the worst survivor's guilt.
Yeah, no, totally.
Because he's outlived all his friends.
Not only that, but
except Bucky.
But the idea that he might be hell bent on fighting this everlasting war, and that means losing soldiers, friends, family members, left and right forever. Like, we lost Bucky in the 40s. Then Bucky came back. Then we quote unquote lost Bucky again. You understand? Peggy Carter, we lost Peggy Carter. Then other members that he actually, that actually disappeared. T'Challa, people he's cool with, is like,
and he lost he lost one of his best friends he made in this new world.
Yeah,
because he lost Sam Wilson.
Yeah, and so it's like, there's no attachments. I just have to be ready to be a soldier.
The only real friend he has left that he still speaks to is Natasha.
Yeah, who's trained,
which is just a beautiful through line for them. But
yeah, and I didn't even think about that. She stood ride or die from Civil War all the way to Infinity War.
Oh yeah.
All right, Natasha.
From Avengers 1 all the way till now, it's been I was say Chris and Scott.
Oh, Chris and Scarlett.
It's been supposedly they're pretty good friends in real life. It's been
they were in a movie
Steve and Natasha.
Yeah.
Were they?
They were like in one of those like college movies, because they were both like young actors running out, like how he was on Not Another Teen movie,
right,
and stuff. Yeah, I didn't even think about that through line for Cap in that way, because lo and behold, that we'll be talking about this trailer with two humongous MCU Cap fans.
Yes.
GT Rebirth is a huge MCU Captain America fan, and comic book Captain America fan, and
it made me a fan of the comic book character.
And same.
I understood it differently now.
And with that, I think that we were sort of kind of underserved in Infinity War.
Okay.
We got Cap.
Yeah.
But like no real.
You get him being a dick to
Shield.
General Ross.
Yeah. But like I wanted the real Shield or kind of like a newer version of the real Shield. When you got the Wakandan Shield, it's like I kind of get it.
I don't care for the Wakandan shields.
It's just weird.
It made for a cute line.
Yeah.
Of, get this man a shield.
Which would then make you think like, oh, they had like a vibranium cap, like some sort of hodgepodge, but it was just like, no, we got one in the closet if you want to rock with it.
I'd be okay if he didn't pick that shield up again. I think there's gonna be like the time travel element, so you'll see him with the classic one.
Yeah.
But because they make that reference to a new shield in Spider-Man: Homecoming, I kind of want to see if they have the balls to pull out the detachable triangular shield that he had around his all new, all different Marvel.
You talking about his Hydra cap with that you could shoot out the bottom of it to stab people. I like that. What about if they had the balls to go Avengers of Tomorrow and it's that light shield, the hologram.
Shield?
What is it? Whatever. It's some sort of
holographic light
hard
shield.
light.
Yeah.
Construct
I wasn't
shield.
a fan of that one.
I always wondered how that worked and how you can throw something like that, but I mean, I don't know about technology. Cap, this is gonna be a swan song for some of these heroes.
Yes.
The somberness of that beginning of Tony Stark just floating through space.
Yeah.
Talking to Wilson. He's sitting there and Mr. Sunday Movies, which I like to review, he catches a lot of this stuff. Made a pretty good point, which is that we, like him, like to go and do deep dives on some of these trailers, but if last year's trailer and last year's episode showed me anything, is that there are probably 2 or 3 shots in this that are not going to be in the film at all.
Yeah. The big charging scene from the last Infinity War, not even in the movie.
They removed the whole gems from the gauntlet in certain scenes, so maybe there's more in that ship with Tony. Maybe there's less in that ship with Tony.
The entire speech from the trailer isn't in the film at all.
Yes.
Where he talks about putting a smile on his face.
Yes. One does not think about happiness when it comes to the
balancing the universe.
Yes.
There are lines that are obviously displaced and placed in different parts of the scenery to throw you
people
off.
Are talking to different people.
Yeah.
It makes it look like Gamora's talking to Tony, but they don't even see each other ever.
Which is why I think it's funny, because like people will get all upset about the idea that trailers give too much away, but I'm like, at least for Marvel, half those trailers are just lies.
No, straight up blatant. Yeah. Straight up blatant lies.
The Ragnarok trailer gave them 2 eyes, and by the end of it, you're just like, oh, that's not what it looked like.
Who do you think has the most interesting story to tell left in this?
It's a tough one for me because, like, in a linear fashion, you imagine that Tony Stark is the guy that gets the big win at the end.
In the same way, and we'll get to this when we get there, that Ollie is probably the person that's going to take on the most responsibility in their upcoming big epic.
Yeah, because like he's the beginning of this, and like he could very well be the end of it for every reason. Like, this all came through with Iron Man being a huge success.
I mean, kind of be poetic if it was Cap because he was in the 1930s. But I get what you mean. Like, he has been the focal point of these, especially these Avengers films. Right? Because this is the guy who wanted to turn down the invitation to the boy band, right? I don't want to be in your little boy band, whatever. And then he was like, wait, what do you mean I'm too confrontational to be in the Avengers?
The very interesting thing between this movie and Infinity War, when I was going into Infinity War, was there are only a few people that have a personal stake with Thanos. It was Thor and Tony.
And Drax.
Yeah, to a degree, but like you knew Drax wasn't doing it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Drax did have a personal stake, but like I wasn't gonna.
I'm actually surprised he didn't just straight up kill Drax.
Right.
But
I should say 3. Tony Stark, Thor, and Nebula. But like that's a comic book wreck that like probably won't ever come through.
Yeah, the daughters, you can put them together.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But like Tony's got the PTSD, and he sees Thanos as this big thing in the back of his mind that he's been fighting with for ever since the New York incident happened.
Yeah.
And
I actually,
and Thor's got this cosmic sort of, rivalry with the whole thing.
Right. And I'm actually kind of, I guess I wouldn't say disappointed because, and we'll talk about this too. Sometimes these are happy accidents, like when they pick up things that are dropped from other movies or breadcrumbs that have been dropped in other movies. They pick them up for the sequels and try to resolve those kind of issues and stuff. I would have liked more if Tony had a deeper connection to the Thanos of it all.
Right.
Because it seemed like what he was bumping up a lot against is the unknowingness of the world past his.
Right.
And he was just very uneasy because anything could come out of that wormhole or the universe or whatever. And he always felt like he was a step behind because he's only one man and only one Earth.
Right.
But like he's almost haunted by Thanos by the time we get to Infinity War.
Yeah.
I wish there was more of like maybe him like seeing him in a dream or something. You know what I'm saying? Like there was no actual connection to Thanos the man.
You can argue he makes it like because they don't show him visibly all the time.
Yeah.
But like you can argue that he in some way connects the New York incident and Thanos to the vision he gets in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, but wouldn't it have been cool in Age of Ultron for him to see the throne or the
certainly,
glove?
Certainly.
And then you go,
or even his little floaty chair.
Right, and then you go like, oh, once I see this again, I know it's on because I've seen this before.
Right.
Where I felt like and that's fine. Like we say it again, like he became an MVP because the PTSD drove him to the point that he felt like he needed nanites in his skin to create this suit, and that's what got him as far as it did in that film. But now, stripped of the suit, we're back to Tony Stark in the cave, right, with Scraps. Tony, you're in a like futuristic time travel vehicle. I'm pretty sure you can build like a microwave.
Is he on the Milano?
People were theorizing he's on the Milano, but the Milano got destroyed in Guardians 2 when they crashed it on that planet with Ego, and then they just leave it. Remember?
Oh, what did they leave in? I forgot then.
They left an Ego ship.
Oh.
That weird white.
And that's what they're flying in Infinity War?
And no, they were flying in some other ship in Infinity War.
Oh, okay.
So supposedly the Milano is supposed to be named after Peter Quill's crush, Alyssa Milano. Who I think was on Who's the Boss back in the 80s.
Sure.
And so this
she was in Double Dragon.
This ship is called the Benatar. So it's supposed to be named after Pat Benatar. Yeah. So we named after Pat Benatar. And I think that's what they're driving back in, or okay. Tony and Nebula are in. But the Milano is trash. Poor thing. I loved it. It was orange and blue.
That's a crap ship rate to be stuck with.
Yeah, it was like that. I like the colors, like the whole orange and blue color scheme of the Milano. But Nebula is there and alive. She's got to have like nothing to live for, right? At this point, like
I don't know. She's
been trying to stop my dad.
She didn't seem to be concerned with helping anyone
in Infinity War.
Yes.
So I mean, she got caught and tortured. I think at that point she was just like, all right, I tried my plan without listening to anyone else's plans. Let's see what does anyone else got something better?
But like she's just sort of standing there watching them trying to get the glove off Thanos. Yeah. And then when she realized what's happening to Peter Quill and how Peter's going to mess it up, she's just like, well, this is happening.
Oh, yeah. He probably killed Gamora.
I'm going to incense the entire thing and then just watch it.
The dots, yeah.
And then just watch it play out and not stop him.
No, yeah, she's definitely the one that's like,
wouldn't be important or anything.
Wait a minute. But Gamora and No, yeah, she definitely causes more trouble than she fixes. To the point that if she wouldn't have got caught, then she couldn't be tortured, and then he wouldn't have found out what the Soul Stone was. Yada 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 yada.
Just kick Nebula upside her skull head.
I for nostalgia reasons, I was listening back to our Infinity War trailer breakdown dealy. No, Infinity War straight up review.
Therapy.
Yeah, our Infinity War episode, therapy episode, where we just talk about the plot and stuff like that. And it turns out that I had found on Wikipedia something like that Volmir, which is the planet that they found the Soul Stone on,
and the Red Skull.
Yeah, that's in the Kree galaxy.
Oh, is it?
And Captain Marvel's a Kree.
Yes.
And maybe she knows about that Soul Stone.
A half Kree, maybe.
Half Kree, something or other, or she's a Skrull. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that
on another day.
On another day. But people are thinking that maybe it's going to be Captain Marvel who helps Tony out there in space because she does the space thing. Maybe rescue because of that whole that line about like out here without rescue or something like that. I am also postulating that Tony has been eating his suit little by little.
I'm not sure it's edible or even biodegradable.
would Tony Stark not make his suit edible, biodegradable? I think he'd figure out a way to put some salt on that thing and just make it work.
It smells like it tastes like cherry gummies.
Hulk has to do something stand out in this next one, right?
After the smashing he took, yeah, you kind of got to redeem that character. I mean, it's only fair. Like we spent Infinity War redeeming Thor, so we may as well.
Soft tangent. Zack Snyder, since the end of Justice League, has been coming on and answering random questions that some people ask, some people don't, to let people in on a couple of things. This has started a trend of people doing this now, because since Infinity War, the Russo brothers have been answering questions like, is this person really gone? What's going on? And one of the things that they said that people were a little bit, they raised an eyebrow to, was the idea that Hulk was not afraid of Thanos.
Right.
How do you feel about that revelation? Do you feel like that's what came across on the screen? And do you think that their reasoning works better than what we, I guess, assumed from what we were given?
Yeah, it certainly came across that, like, he took a beating and was just sort of, like, shut in by it. The idea that, if a bully actually gets beat up, he kind of curls into a shell because, like, didn't think that could happen.
Yeah.
At the same time, I get the idea that they're like, no, it's supposed to be some sort of identity battle between him and Banner.
Yeah.
I guess that would take some work to understand, because it's always been like Hulk has been fighting for dominance over the body, and now he's just kind of like, nah, I'm gonna chill back here.
And in a lot of ways, Hulk, Ruffalo, Banner, they're all underserved because they don't get the benefit of a full movie to flesh out these motivations, flesh out mind states. We're supposed to do the connective tissue from, like, barely Avengers, more Age of Ultron, Ragnarok.
The only thing you can trace
Infinity
from
War
is Ragnarok, in the sense that the identity crisis traces back to the idea that everyone keeps trying to use Hulk for their own ends.
And I think that we're going to get that in Captain Marvel. I think that both the Kree and the Skrull are going to negatively manipulate Danvers to be on their team, and that's what gets her to the point of, like, screw you, screw you, I'm going to live on another planet, and you with the eye patch, you call me only if people start to disappear.
Right.
I do think that and it would be a poignant point to make, especially in this political climate, that sometimes things are not as cut and dry, as they should be.
Right.
But Hulk, supposedly is going on like this. We were told that if you connected all the parts of Hulk in these Avenger movies, that it would make a full arc.
Yeah.
Theoretically, for the character of Hulk and stuff. I just can't wait till they reveal that Ed Norton is on a Skrull spaceship somewhere. And he's there hanging out with Terrence Howard. And they're wondering why people are out there impersonating Rhodey and Hulk, and no one's getting in trouble for it. Let's see. I think we covered all 4 of the Avengers. Scarlet seems to be. I mean, Natasha. She seems to be fine. I see that she just rolls with the punches in these kind of situations.
I think you have to take Natasha Romanoff as someone who constantly deals with, loss and
tragedy and how to bounce back from that. Yeah.
Well, we've got to go to the new mission. This one didn't work out, y'all.
No, I can see that.
I lost my cover. Got to get a new one.
We get two bits of hope, 2 bits of heroism we see in here. One of them doesn't even feel like heroism, but we see a slew of dead bodies and then a man wiping off the blood of his sword. Yes. And turns out that man is Clint Barton, a.k.a. Hawkeye, in his Ronin attire.
Yes.
Ronin being a samurai without a master. Mm-hmm. And this is a man probably without his family. People are theorizing that maybe his family was gone in the snap.
That was my immediate theory, that the decimation had taken everyone in his family but him, and that, this has been him just carousing across the Orient, taking out crime gang, criminals or whatever, and just outright murdering people.
Do you think we get a sort of flashback sequence of some of the other people would have wanted to see disappear, or you think it's all going to be expository?
I think it's all going to be expository, which like sounds like a negative. But at the same time, like I don't see the point in filming scenes for it.
I can see that, and I also, and this is my rant. You know, I love to just, with no context or evidence, just come up with random ass predictions.
Sure.
But I also predict that we won't be in this timeline for very long. The
As in,
timeline
like,
where the snap happens. I feel like the majority of this film would be them dealing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the first half an hour, that Ant-Man situation happens, or first 45 minutes, and then
do you
the
mean
rest
like
of the
you
film.
mean like the immediate aftermath timeline?
Yes.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then we jump ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I think we're gonna get immediate aftermath timeline for very few, jumping ahead for also very few.
Yeah.
I think that the majority of the crux is going to be, because even if they do this theorized hop around in time, I feel like that's going to be the bulk of things. That's
Yes.
going to be the bulk of the film, which then means that this whole sad, mopey dopey stuff is going to be the beginning catalyst to why we
Right.
get there, and then probably the most anticipated third act in movie history.
Potentially, yes. What I'm willing to what I am interested to see them do is like, they have put themselves in another position where they have to do a bit of a juggling act.
Yeah.
Because we've got to juggle Team A going through time, and we've got to juggle Team B being Captain Marvel showing up on the planet,
Yeah.
and whatever the heck Thanos is doing that's going to lead to the climax.
Yeah. No,
or,
definitely.
you know, whoever the villain is, or whatever, but like probably just Thanos again.
Do you think that they
And how they attempt to solve the problem, because like we've got to get okay. We've got to get people back, obviously, because there are people who are gone that have movies, like they're coming back.
Yes.
At the same time, like I'd like it to not be so clean.
So they made a lot of bones about these stakes and consequences are real.
Yes.
Even post the film coming out, people were like, "Oh, they're really dead. They can't be really dead." And they would go over again and say, like, you know, things ain't
Like,
how you
sure.
think it's gonna be.
And like they're dead as of right now.
Right. There was a lot of that going on. I'm wondering in a lot of ways, man. And the one person that I look at that is defining how I'm trying to predict where they're gonna go is Spider-Man.
Okay.
Because I feel like he is not gonna be with us very long.
Right.
And I wonder if both Avengers 4 and Far From Home are going to be the backdoor writings off of that character.
Right.
And so do they just group everybody in that? Like, do the Guardians, Black Panther, and Spider-Man go to different Earths? Can you do a Black Panther film in a Wakanda on Earth that there's no Avengers?
Mm.
Does that work? If you don't, does Panther remember does the world remember what happened? Does it become a thing where like Wolverine is the only one who knows?
You definitely don't want to make that decision, because like you do not want to in any way eliminate the gravitas and the success that was the first Black Panther film.
$1 billion.
Yes. So if you do anything where it's just like he doesn't remember or it didn't happen here, you immediately undercut that film, and that would be bad.
Yeah.
Because that film had way too much of an impact.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I just hope it is not like a clean fix.
Yeah.
And like there are definitely some characters that should stay dead. I'm a little heartbroken about the idea that maybe Gamora stays dead, maybe not. I think Loki absolutely should.
What's funny about Guardians is that Guardians was a property that people didn't even really know, and so the ties that we have to those characters are kind of tangential because they can bring in an Angela,
yeah,
or didn't Thing? No, that wasn't Thing. It was a Venom that was on the Guardians for a while. But
Both.
There's so many different characters that you can. They were, right?
Yes.
There's so many different characters that you can bring in to freshen up the roster. If God forbid Gamora couldn't come back, or she is stone cold dead. Whereas it's a little bit trickier with the Avengers. Once you pull out those 4 big names,
yeah,
it's gonna take some work to get people to be as familiar and as affectionate, invested as towards the other ones. Do you think they pull out all 4? In Avengers 4.
That being Cap, Stark,
Hulk and Thor.
Yeah. Hulk and Thor. I think Thor might have a little while longer. I think they kind of had a rejuvenation after the Ragnarok film.
Right? It's crazy how that works, right? I think if Ragnarok would have been another Dark World, Thor would have been on my death list.
Yeah.
Easy.
And Chris would have been more than happy to leave.
Yeah. But Ragnarok, like, really changed the pace of what that character could be and what a Thor movie could be.
Yeah.
And it takes a crazy man like Taika Waititi to even see that, because I wouldn't even thought to go that route with it. And it's because the comics are so outlandish, they're just leaning into it.
Right.
Into the absurdity of it all, into the absurdity of, like, this hammer has a spell on it and I can pick it up, but no one else can. Like, that's kind of absurd, but it works completely in that world, and so do all the in-jokes there. Is there... I guess Tony is the only one that has an arc close to being closed, right? Where you probably can write an exit for that character, and people feel okay with it. Me? Easy way. You want to keep paying the guy? Tony Stark AI.
Like in Secret.
You understand?
Like
the same way
Secret Empire.
The same way you got Jarvis.
Oh, okay.
Could you imagine a new Iron Man or even Ironheart, booting up, and you hear Robert Downey Jr.'s voice in there? And you're like,
interesting.
Hey,
and he'd never really have.
What do you think? I was gonna let you do this by yourself?
And he'd never really have to come to work. He just has to go to the studio and like do his voice lines and go home.
That's it. And he would just be like,
make more Sherlock Holmes films.
Legit. He would just be like, "Oh, hey, you thought I was gonna let you do this by yourself?" And then that's it. We're done.
Right.
Last crazy bit of speculation I would like to have here. How much of this film, if any, when I say if any, I mean it might just be reserved for the post-credit, will be setting up for the next wave that is the juggernaut of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Do you think they will spend this entire movie just closing out the first 10? Or do you think, with just a nice little post-credit to set up for the rest? Or do you think majority of this will be breadcrumbs leading to where us and these characters are going to go in the foreseeable future?
So I would like a little bit of both in small doses. I'm not a fan of the idea that, like, okay, post-credit scene, bam, we just bombard you with the idea of mutants.
Right.
Or, like, the entire Fantastic Four shows up. They're like, that's okay, that's a little heavy right now.
Yeah.
Especially after, like, what we've gone through and, like, the fact that this is a culmination of so many things, that Endgame feels very final. Yeah. There's a finality to the movie that, like, even though there will still be Marvel movies after it, this is an entire era of this generation just, like, being sort of, how do you say, almost closed off.
Yeah.
I'd like a little bit. We've got to obviously get the idea down that, like, something's going to happen with Spider-Man, and then his movie's going to take place minutes after the end of this one.
Yes, supposedly, yeah.
Supposedly,
like very short amount of time after Avengers 4.
Barely any time. Like, probably maybe the shortest amount of time between films I've seen canonically.
Don't even get canonically, because Homecoming jacked up the timeline by saying it was 8 years.
Well, sure, but we're talking about almost months and years between everyone else and minutes.
Oh boy! Speaking of, remember I just talked about that other Iron Man?
Yeah.
Remember they put that kid in from Iron Man 3?
Oh god, let's never start with that.
Yeah, the child that Tony Stark
and they keep
emotionally abuses in Iron Man 3.
They keep trying to make you believe that, like, no, that child meant something. We will find a reason to bring it up later.
And the Peter Parker Iron Man 2 connection.
Don't even talk.
I'm thinking about one of these episodes getting into bad superhero sequels.
Right.
Just talking about, like, because it's easy to talk about a bad superhero first film.
Right.
Right? Like, we do that till the sun goes down, like Catwoman and oh my God, the 1990s Captain America is stuff on nightmares. But I'm talking about dropping the ball.
To talk about something that got it right and then just get it
and then you just drop the ball. Like, because I don't think that's what this is going to be. This is going to be a triumph. But
like,
we live in a world, though, where Venom beats Justice League, where Aquaman in China has beaten its
already outsold Justice League by like miles.
Is it a given? It has Marvel cracked the code. Is it just? This is going to be a great film? Like, are we there?
I don't think so. I don't think I don't know if they've cracked the code necessarily. There's always a way to bundle it, but I have faith in them, and I think the Russos have been my favorite directorial team of the Marvel lexicon.
Yeah.
especially with their
those
hands.
Fight scenes too, man. Those action scenes, they're really on point with that. Yeah, they are. To think of the stuff that you see with like Thanos fighting Strange, it's like, how do you even? Right. And I'll throw a black hole at you, and I'll make it into butterflies. It's like, wait, what's going on here?
And I will turn into 15,000 Doctor Stranges.
And here's 15,000 ropes. You know what I'm saying? Like all
the Crimson Bands of Setarak.
All of that stuff is so Easter eggy, but also so like intricate. That's
to me the important thing at the end of Endgame is to set up the idea that like Captain Marvel, Black Panther, to some degree Spider-Man, like this is your quote unquote
the new squad.
New Avengers, you know, not like they're gonna title it that way or after the book or anything, but this is what we're running with to take us into the next stage of these films. I think that's just as important as saying like, and here comes this player out of the sky.
Yeah,
but we've got a new opponent.
That's been or
just like, or how do you say? I'm sorry, like at the end, like do it at the end of like at the end of Avengers 1, where it's just like, and here's your massive villain for the next 8 movies watching from the sky.
I get that, but what if we get the Nick Fury initiative conversation flipped on its head and you get what you want? What if you get like some hoity-toity government guy going up to Ross like, we can never let this happen again.
Right.
You need to come up with your own team to make sure that if these guys bumble it like they did last time in Wakanda,
I wouldn't even imagine someone comes up to Ross. I think Ross is just like, I am sick of these Avengers.
I'm sick of these damn kids.
They keep screwing me over at every turn. We basically should have court-martialed War Machine at this point.
Yeah.
Tony Stark keeps hanging up the phone on me. Captain America told me to go screw myself.
Yeah.
We need to make a team that we can control.
It seems
and then
like
you take a bunch of criminals who have nothing else going for them but being in prison.
It seems like they're lining up for Dark Avengers. It seems like they're lining up
that's exactly what I want. It's Dark Avengers under the guise of being the Thunderbolts because they'd be led by Thaddeus Ross.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying call them the Thunderbolts, but like, they are because they're Thaddeus Ross's boys, but they're also the Dark Avengers for every other reation.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You could just,
for branding reasons, they're quote unquote the Avengers. But,
exactly. You can like these are things you can easily meld together.
Yeah.
At the same time, like, hot take, funny thought, you could make the Dark Avengers the Sinister Six and just have real fun with it.
Oh yeah, that's true. And you had because
they're like in prison.
And Gargan was Spider-Man in the Dark Avengers. Right. Scorpion was Spider-Man in the Dark Avengers. I want them to have the breadcrumbs and stuff, but I actually
pass John Cena as US agent because we keep doing that.
Yeah, right. We'll see how that Bumblebee money looks. We will. I want this movie to be more of a definitive end for the first 10 years than I wanted to set up for the second.
Sure.
But I find myself even in your hypothetical scenario, like any hint towards the Fantastic Four, I think I'm just going to be ecstatic just because
sure
it's the most maligned Marvel property at this point, like without a shadow of a doubt. And if
not a good movie to its name.
You understand? And so like if we can get even a little bit of joy, the same joy
tries, by the way.
The same joy that we get when we see Ant-Man there with seemingly the van with the quantum tunnel in the back.
Yes.
At the end, that little post-credit kind of deal, like if we can just get a little bit of hope in here, because Infinity War is an emotional roller coaster.
Yes.
Ups and downs, and we got it, no we don't, everyone's dead, So this has to end on a high note. It has to make us optimistic for the future. It has to be a good send-off to those who aren't coming back. But it also has to be a good stepping stone for those who are ready to jump into the next phase of movies. That's all it has to do. Just all those jobs. just all those individual intricate things. But if you do it well, and if you do your homework, if you take your time, and if you bust your ass, you can get beautiful, beautiful, beautiful things, which is my superpower of the segue to get into another property that has busted his ass, done the homework, taken the time, and that is the Arrowverse.
Yes. Establishing a team of heroes that I will now start calling the Justice Guild.
Because
it may as well be the best Justice League setup you've ever seen.
When we watch Infinity War or even Civil War, like these big movies, Avengers, that pull together these plot points and these characters, a lot of the enjoyment is literally just the interactions between these people.
Yes.
We went on a diatribe in the Infinity War reaction therapy episode about just people bumping into each other, calling each other the wrong names, and all kinds of stuff. But every year with these crossovers, watching these characters just get together and how their ideologies clash, how their support systems in general, not even supporting cast, but support systems clash, I think is amazing, because if you've watched these episodes, the episodes of these individual shows, The Flash, Supergirl, Arrow, on lesser cases, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning and stuff, there's connective tissue there. Sometimes it's thick, but when it comes to these crossovers, there's so much meat on these bones. There's so much content, so much Easter eggs, so much comic book callbacks, season callbacks, character callbacks, all of that stuff. It's a feast every time we have one of these episodes. Now you saw this all in one jump.
Yes.
How is it as a bingeable hour, 2 hour? It's about 2 hours. Right? Is it 3 hours?
I mean, if you account for commercial time and
rough stuff to like left. 2 and change, right?
Yeah.
How does it digest in that fashion?
I think it digests pretty well. But you have to be prepared for a lot of
kind of like recap stuff, right?
Not necessarily recaps, but in between the main problem, we're also going to talk about our particular small problems that are still advancing our through lines when we all go back to our shows.
Okay. Who do you think brought the most baggage when it came to that?
Probably Oliver.
Think Ali?
Probably.
Yeah.
Because Nora doesn't appear in this, so it's Flash and his wife, they're cool. There's no problems there. There's no baggage. Supergirl just kind of jumps on over.
She has a personal issue, but it's not something that if you don't watch the show, she explains it when she's in the back of that truck with Clark about having to reveal her identity.
Right.
And that's basically what she's dealing with for the whole crossover.
Yeah, you get 2 small snippets of her talking about the things that are going on with her, and and a moment she shares with Batwoman where she discusses the idea of dual identity.
Right.
But beyond that, she's just in for the mission. Oliver is the one that comes in with almost all his entire team and the baggage that comes with it.
Yeah, and his role increases significantly as the crossover continues.
Yes.
And stuff. It definitely was a highlight on there. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of this Elseworlds crossover. Let's take it episode by episode. And the great people at Den of Geek have accumulated quite an impressive list of Easter eggs. So we'll be trying to drop in Easter eggs while we go over this plot. And GT, just chime in at any point in time if you remember something or if you have a plot point. But we'll start with the very first Easter egg, which is the idea of this Elseworlds name. Elseworlds is a line of DC Comics that they sold that postulated to be out of continuity. And being out of continuity, you can do all kinds of things, like, I don't know, raise a Russian Superman or have a Victorian era Batman. The Elseworlds logo that you see on the posters and even in the openings for this crossover, it's the same Elseworlds logo that they use for the comics to show that these comics were out of continuity. And do you think that they used the Elseworlds platform to the best of its ability? Do you think it's coming back?
It could come back, in a sense that it could come back as the same thing it's always been used as on the Flash that we occasionally play with, because really the Flash has been dabbling in the Elseworld gimmick its whole time.
Yeah, no, you're that's true.
Harrison Wells of season 1 is essentially an Elseworldsy character. The Jay Garrick we get is the exact same thing.
In many ways, this episode could not have happened without the inclusion of the Flash in the Arrowverse,
which is exactly why at the beginning of the episode, Arrow immediately blames it all on him.
Yes, and there's even a bit where Cisco, does he picks up a machine. They have all kinds of machines to start out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing this one
but no
detects temporal energy or something like that, and he's you didn't time travel again, or it's not a time travel issue. And I'm like,
he's just like, for once, this is not my fault.
Yeah. But we already knew from posters and stuff that things were gonna get kind of, topsy-turvy when it came to reality being changed around. But the Flash episode, Elseworlds Part 1, opens up with Earth 90. Earth 90's Barry Allen.
not a very thinly veiled title.
Yes, Earth Stomp 90.
Yes.
You get John Wesley Shipp as Barry Allen, the original TV Flash, the first TV Flash. He is like crawling on the ground. You see the Monitor, who we've seen in set photos, and this beginning was actually tacked on to the endings of the Supergirl, Arrow, and Flash episodes of last week, where we see the Monitor open up this big book and basically declare that this world will be destroyed, and the Flash kind of just like does a little Flash out of there thing.
It's interesting to see 90s Flash with today's graphics.
Yes, it is. He's a stocky man. Like
Flash lifts heavy.
Yeah, he's a really really fit Flash. He's a bigger Flash too.
Yes.
How did you feel about the myriad of heroes seemingly dead at the foot of the Monitor? And is this a case? We find out later on that the Monitor is actually just trying to test heroes.
Yeah.
Has he killed all these heroes as a test for the crisis he feels is coming? I
imagine the idea is that he hasn't killed a single one of them, but that they have all failed, and that is led to the destruction of their planet, which is just like wistful, lack of concern for what happens.
Because he's still looking for a champion or champions to save the multiverse, and these guys ain't it.
He is so concerned with something bigger, and he is so much more above this that a planet died. Whatever. Our whole thing's about to get wrecked, son.
How do you feel about the Monitor being sort of an antagonist, or the antagonist in this, besides John Deegan, who we'll get to in a bit? For the most part, he plays not a protagonist, but a heroic figure.
Yeah.
In the comics, trying to combat the anti-Monitor, and we find out later on that maybe he's, like I said, maybe his reasoning is a little bit more altruistic than it leads on, but he's kind of willing to let things go to hell.
Yeah.
To see, quote unquote, to see and test the heroes of the Earth.
It's very Apocalypse.
Ah, okay.
Because the whole idea of Apocalypse is someone once asked the question, why does Apocalypse just walk away all the time and not just keep trying to kill all these mutants?
Yeah.
And the idea was that if they can still fend off Apocalypse, then it must still be they must still be a fit group.
Yeah.
And thus there is no reason for me to destroy them.
Right.
Because that's what Apocalypse is all about, survival of the fittest.
He's seeing the end. Yeah, the ends justify them being there because they are the top of the.
They were able to fend me off. They are strong. This is not a world that yet needs changing. I'm gonna go sleep in my fucking pyramid.
Did you see that the Green Arrow, the Smallville Green Arrow stuff is down there? The I saw the Hawk people's helmets, and I missed the Hawks. Hawk people. I'm like, where you guys?
I only cared for the Hawk Girl.
I saw Star Girl.
Hawk guy was kind of a douche.
Stick? Something like that.
Mm.
But Flash manages to wisp away, and we go back to our Earth 1, or the main Earth that we know about, and we see that the Arkham Asylum psychiatrist John Deegan is at this point, is he the psychiatrist? He's like a teacher, and he's like, we can change genetics by killing people. And some guy is like, yeah, you're crazy,
You're
and I'm
hack.
leaving.
We're going to go.
Even though I've paid thousands of dollars for this class, I'm going to tell you off and walk out because I do not like what you're saying, sir. I'm with it because it's like, why won't they just listen to me? And this is the guy that Monitor is like, oh yeah, you're going to be the guy I give this reality rewriting book to, and we will see how things play out. And that's exactly what he does. He says, you can change reality to your will. You get to be a god in this instance. And we see, this is our introduction to John Deegan, a.k.a. Dr. Destiny.
I had not heard of until this.
I knew Dr. Destiny because I had heard that he was in a very, very cool story in Neil Gaiman's Sandman, which seems to be a labyrinth of you know, you understand what I'm saying? Like, I did the Alan Moore Swamp thing. You understand? I just have to do these things in sittings,
right?
You know, and so
I've heard about Sandman and I've heard all this the revelry around it, but I'm just like, whoa, that's dense.
It seems to be a lot, but I'm
so
willing to check it out if it's as good as people say it is. Swamp Thing is as good as people say it is, so I'm gonna have to get into that. But he has this big old book, Mr. John Deegan, and he decides that he's gonna rewrite reality. So the very first thing that we get, which is a calling card for these crises, is red skies and yellow lightning.
Yes.
All willy-nilly. Later on, we're told that this is like breach energy.
Right.
Felicity postulates that this is energy caused by the fluctuations in the weather is somebody trying to breach through from another Earth.
Right.
And I think that kind of is canon. Like, I think that there's like multiversal energy, and things being tampered around in the multiverse usually leads to this weather forecast.
Almost always leads to lightning.
Yes, this weather forecast. And speaking of lightning, my man Oliver Queen wakes up in Barry Allen's bed, not next to Barry Allen's wife, but Barry Allen's wife is cooking breakfast, and she kisses him, and they deal with their morning stuff. Now, I gotta talk about this kiss.
Okay.
Because I keep my eyes on Iris. Iris told Barry in season 1 that the Flash and Oliver Queen were on her list of people she was allowed to cheat on her fiance with.
Really?
Yes. It's the Flash, Oliver Queen, and maybe somebody else. But Oliver Queen is definitely on her. I will cheat on my fiance with this man.
Funny.
Man. So you got that. But when they have this kiss, Oliver Queen does not say, whoa, 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 what are you doing? Whoa, 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 what's going on here? He says, whoa, what if Barry sees? That's the line that comes out of my man Oliver Queen's mouth. He goes, what if your husband caught us or sees us? And I'm like, Ollie, what are you doing, bro? That is not the question you asked.
Deep inside, Oliver is just like,
damn, jackpot.
No, not even that. Not even that. I think maybe somewhere deep in the recesses of his brain, he just remembers that Felicity kissed Barry.
Oh,
he's just
yeah.
like, sweet revenge.
That's it. No, oh my gosh, I didn't even put those two together.
Yes.
What do you think of those
because
two?
Because they were the original cute couple before the Felicity thing happened, and people were just like, I don't like those two.
Yeah. What do you think of those two? What do you think of Candace Patton on screen with Stephen Amell?
Stephen Amell?
Yeah.
It don't work.
No, not a fan.
That's weird.
It was so odd to see her look at him so adoringly, right? Like, so, like, my baby. Because he was all like...
And he's just like, whoa.
He's all like, yeah, about that. But we find out that not only have they switched places, they switched powers. Oliver is now a speedster. And he is tasked with going to the crime scene. Well, yeah, we'll be in Star Labs. Just make sure you get there. I thought that was pretty funny because you see him run past Ivo Labs, and he is, like, if you watch before he gets there, his... like lightning is just zigzagging, like he doesn't know exactly where to go or how to just keep on a straight line.
He passed it like 8 blocks.
You wake up there on that Earth with those powers. What do you do? Do you just play along? Do you immediately try to find out what the heck's going on? Or?
I think I play along just for a little bit.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm just like, this is weird.
Until a cicada shows up, right? Like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not
right. Like, this isn't my wife. This is a little different.
Yeah. We see Ivo Labs, which is an allusion to Professor Ivo, the guy who creates Amazo. More about Amazo in a sec. But the weird thing about this was we saw the Ivo. There's like an Ivo boat in Arrow season 1
called the Amazo.
Season 2. Professor Ivo was on that ship, right?
And it was called the Amazo.
The ship was called the Amazo.
Yes.
So we're just gonna.
And then it was shot.
Maybe this is something that changed with Flashpoint, like how Diggle's son got switched around.
Do they call it Amazo?
I remember. Do they call the robot Amazo?
Yes.
Yes, because they came up with some kind of crazy acronym like Android Metahuman. I remember because the Z was a word I never heard before, and Cisco goes Amazo, Amazo, as a name.
I guess okay, so
but they definitely call it Amazo.
I can deal with that because like we came up with a stupid
acronym?
reason for it to be called Amazo, and not like we're calling it Amazo, and it's clearly a callback to something they know nothing about.
Yeah, we see.
I think the only interesting thing is like that Oliver doesn't ever like kind of react to this. It's like,
no, I love the "you have failed the city" stuff. Like, wait, that's not what you do. And he goes to throw the lightning, and it literally bounces off the floor and off the walls.
Yeah,
strikes the robot. We find out is Amazo, and basically brings him back to life.
yes.
So I thought that I dig the Amazo character. I think the whole like Terminator on speed kind of thing, like. I can turn on all your powers, and I don't talk. I don't. You won't never hear me scream. There's no villain monologue for this. I'm just a
Terminator / like Ultimate Sentinel from Days of Future Past.
Exactly. There's no, and which that's what made them so scary. They weren't like menacing them as they were walking around. They're like, no, we're just gonna adapt and then kill you.
Yeah.
Which I thought was
your own stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. A little bit more of the suspension of disbelief as Barry wakes up on the floor fighting Diggle. What happens there?
I don't know. Like, it's obviously meant to be just a hard cut scene.
Yeah.
But like it makes it come off as like Barry only realizes what's happened the moment he hits the mat.
Right. Which is like, okay, that's how we found Barry. Barry is training with Diggle.
He just opens his eyes, is like, impact. Why am I here? Oh crap, Diggle.
Yeah.
Ah!
He's training with Diggle, and they're gonna take down some guys who are doing some nefarious stuff. Some of like Diaz's old safe houses or something.
Right.
And so he's given the Green Arrow costume. Grant Gustin has all of Oliver Queen's like reflexes, and we find out later like appendages and stuff. But
I am more amused that both costumes fit the both of them quite well, despite the fact they have very different forms.
That facial hair kills that whole Flash thing. I think if he shaved, he would be a pretty good Flash.
He looks like Iris broke up with him in the Flash outfit. He hasn't taken it off for weeks.
I'm telling you, man, she was the one. It's alternate Earths. She's the one on all the Earths.
At that bar, just drinking, just like it was gonna be amazing.
You get the hilarity of Barry seemingly enjoy having these powers and these
not
reflexes
even powers,
and stuff.
but like
these reflexes. I guess
he's never been an athletic man, and now he's like this skilled,
he's the man's man, basically.
Parkour master.
Bunch of muscle memory and stuff allows him to take down a group of thugs.
He knows judo throws.
He also was being less lethal than Ollie in these fights. Like he's not going for the throats and stuff.
Right.
He seemed to like just want to knock people down and like away.
Yeah.
Which I thought was also kind of like a little bit of Barry Allen. There's this moment of hesitation.
Yeah.
Where the guy's like there, he's like, doesn't really know what to do next.
It's Barry's mind and Oliver's muscle memory.
Yes.
He knows how to do these moves when he needs them, but he's not doing it with lethal force because it's not who he is.
Exactly. The vehicle seems to be getting away with a trick shot, puts it down, because he even got the trick shots down, Barry Allen does. Mm-hmm. But right when Diggle's seemingly going to get attacked, Oliver Queen as the Flash rushes them both out to hilarity where you see Diggle throwing up again, because that's just what Diggle does in these scenarios.
Diggle just can't take those vibrations, man.
Can't take that stomach, and they decide that they're going to go to Star Labs and figure out what the heck is going on. And Team Flash doesn't believe him.
No.
Off the rip.
Iris is just like, how dare you tell me I've been sleeping with the wrong man?
There's a point in which they're like, we're going to talk about this, but you guys, we don't want to talk around you guys. And Iris walks by Oliver Queen / her Barry and goes, I only got eyes for you. And walks away like, come on, this between us. Like, I would never. And I thought it was such a sweet affirmation, but such a dig because her real husband is actually right there.
Right.
And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of like, he's not even my type. And there's that whole scene of her like, there's various points in this episode where Iris is like, Oliver Queen is the worst.
Yeah.
And him and Felicity, we don't want to be that.
Right.
And those guys hijacked our wedding, and they had their own wedding at our wedding.
Right.
And that's not cool either. Which I thought was really, really funny. But how did you feel about Team Flash's reaction to this doppelganger situation?
I was going to say, actually, I'm honestly jumping ahead here, but I was going to say, like, despite the fact that they all consider themselves friends, like they've all got some very strong but honest opinions about like who Oliver Queen is.
Yeah.
But
like, never feel like telling this guy this to his face.
Not necessarily.
It's been 4 or 5 years now.
But it's always it's always going to be like, look, we love him. Like, he's a douche, but he's our douche. Just you don't turn into him, because no.
It's like Oliver gets the job done, but he's crazy.
And I think back to the Earth X show where it was like where Nazi Arrow and Supergirl all together, and Supergirl's just like, ugh.
Yeah, it's like, ew. Yeah.
No offense, but no. Supergirl was just kind of mortified by the very idea of Oliver Queen by the end of this.
Some people are having issue with the fact that how quickly they were accepting of people like Nora and Thomas Snow. And then when this situation with the body switch happens, they're all like, no, you guys are going into the pipeline.
Right.
I didn't have a problem with that only because to them, through all their tests, everything was fine.
Yeah.
And so they just didn't know how to handle the situation. I think Barry, had it been any other two people, would have found, he would have been the one to be like, but Iris ends up being the Barry surrogate in this situation where there's this weird moment where Barry's telling Oliver, go tell her you're my lightning rod. And I'm like, why would you? Isn't that your line? Go, you say that.
Like, but I'm you.
Yeah,
but it work.
Yeah, if I, acting like I'm you, say this line, she's gonna think that I am you.
Right. Because
she'll be like, only you know that.
Yeah.
I knew you were my husband. And he'd be like, he just got me into a deeper trick. But you find out that they try to talk to Iris and stuff. Oliver does, but she drugs him, and then Ralph just sucker punches Barry, and they trap them both in the quote unquote prison that Start Lives has, which is the pipeline. So 2 things. One, it is Barry just drops the facade and straight up calls it a prison. Yeah, it's a prison. And second, people have been asking forever.
He tries for a second. It's like, it's not a...
Yeah, it's a prison.
Okay.
People eventually figure out, no, the question had been asked forever because this is a prison. Where do people go to the bathroom on these things? It turns out that there is a bathroom in there. I thought that was such a cool little retcon. like stop asking. We do have them. We are humane. People are using the bathrooms in these things.
Not savages.
Yes. So you get to see the that, which I thought was pretty cool. But the only way that these guys are going to escape is if they get into each other's mindsets. So if maybe if Oliver is a little bit more cheery and optimistic, and maybe if Barry's a little bit more pessimistic and gritty and angry, that they need Barry to be that so he can what's the actual clinical word, fracture his thumb, so he can dislocate.
Yes, dislocate his thumb.
Dislocate his thumb so he can get out of the cuffs, and so he can shorten the power dampener, and then Ali, with seemingly no problem, phases for the first time.
Sort of. It was by mistake, but
yeah, he looked like he was having a blast with that.
Yeah,
and I don't know what that is to have and take away. Like Barry's getting it back, so he'll be fine. But like, this is what you do. Like this, you could just do everything so fast. There's an instance where Cisco yells to Barry. I think towards the end of the episode, he's like, "Barry, we need you in the whatever," and Barry just turns and walks away. And I'm like, that's gotta be so like demoralized. Like, I'll be there in, I don't know, 15 minutes. Like, he's so used to just zooming wherever he has to go. Like, now it's like, I have to walk there, like down the hall.
But after a while, he got real good at that grapple arrow.
Oh yeah. What do you think about the whole down the hall joke that they make, where Oliver goes, "I'm gonna go talk to somebody," and they all like stand by the doorway, like which one of us is gonna go do the pep talk in the hallway that we do? It's like, you're in the hallway. We're just figuring out which one of us has to do the little pep talk. I thought that was kind of funny because at one point, even in the same episode, they say that it's not Tuesday.
Right.
It's not even Tuesday, and that he can't go a single day without a pep talk. One of these like artsy fartsy pep talks, which I thought was real meta.
Yes.
But they escape. But their plan is that they are going to go to another world. They're going to go to another Earth. If they go to another Earth and Kara is able to distinguish them, then it's got to be a problem only on their Earth.
Right.
What do you think about this as a plan?
It made sense.
Yeah.
I totally got it once they said it. It's just like, okay, yeah, if it's just a problem here, we should be able, like, Kara should have no issue like telling it between us.
Yeah,
because like it shouldn't affect their reality.
Yeah. Just when they decide to leave, and they take some convincing of Iris, but they do the lightning rod thing, and
Yes.
just when
the lightning rod speech works.
It works every time. Just when they decide to leave is when Amazo boots up, and you see that elongated man who has his own logo.
Yes.
And Killer Frost who has her own logo. That they both are trying to attack Amazo, but Amazo can replicate metahuman's powers. So using both Ralph and Caitlin's powers, it's able to fully escape, subdue both those heroes, and seemingly get out and up to no good. But then the clouds open up and the sun shines through, and we hear the opening chords of Somebody Save Me from Smallville, and we get to Earth 38.
A show I haven't watched, but even I got that one.
It was pretty powerful.
I was on my couch just going like, that's hilarious. You guys are funny.
You see the farmhouse that was on that show. You see the red pickup truck that was on that show. Just the warm glow.
I'm told that's the exact same set?
Yeah, I heard that it was the same establishing shots as well. So that's got to be like if you were catching that every episode, that's got to be amazing. I'm so thankful that they did something like that.
I actually have the moment where before I got to watch it, my roommate is watching it downstairs in the basement.
Okay.
And I can hear the song, and I just hear him just go like the biggest F you, because he likes Smallville.
Yeah.
It's like F you. This isn't Smallville.
That's funny. And that's it. You're gonna have your Smallville fans sit there and be like, wow, this is a love letter to me, and it's a love letter to those who watch that show. But I'm gonna be a little bit selfish here on the Major Issues podcast because we did a little episode ourselves. GT, we spoke about the bads and goods of one Clark Kent / Superman.
Sure.
This entire segment was written for me because I said that we needed a more homely, a more honest, a more just a good guy. Why can't they just make a good Clark Kent?
Go ahead and wave your victory flag.
A good Superman, a homely, honest Superman. Why we can't have this and make it cool? And they do it in here.
We did. It was called Lois and Clark.
They do it in here. There's Superman, just general Superman homages everywhere. Was he rocking the flannel? I know he was rocking the little fur thing. He likes wearing it.
I saw him just rocking I think he had a flannel shirt under it.
Yeah, they like to put Superman, All-American boy in the flannel.
His Sherpa denim jacket.
Speaking of Smallville, she calls him
useless glasses.
She calls him Smallville.
Yes,
which I thought was pretty cool.
Does she do that anywhere but the animated series?
She did it somewhere else besides the animated series that I can't remember. It might have just been the comics.
Okay.
But that's Elizabeth Taluch. I hope I'm saying that right. Or Talek. I
think it's Talek.
Elizabeth Talek. How do you feel about Elizabeth Talek's Lois Lane?
I was fine with her. She was like, actually, you have it here on the notes, but like her face was a bit angular, and at the same time, while it was just a random like facial detail I noticed, it did make her look a lot like Margot Kidder, who had like the same similar angular facial features.
Yes,
like just a strong jaw structure and everything. It was like we just pulled that clone out of the freezer.
To me, it looked like a hodgepodge of Margot Kidder and Liv Tyler.
Do you think of Terry Hatcher?
Or maybe Terry Hatcher.
Or you think of Lois and Clark?
Yeah.
It's Terry Hatcher.
Yeah, Terry Hatcher.
Supergirl season 2's
Terry
Hatcher.
I think if you found a way to hodgepodge those two together, you would get this. But they made her strong, right? She's working on a car. She's not scared of climbing ladders. She talks about the pay gap differential.
Right.
She talks about being on 2 different planets, going to Argo, and all this other kind of stuff. So they do give her a lot of agency right off the bat. Sorry, Amy Adams, but I think my favorite modern Lois Lane has switched.
Amy gets good agency in the second film, but it's all in the extended cut, so like lots of people didn't see it.
And it's also his mother's name, so you can't.
Oh, go.
You can't forget that. I dig when she's rocking the purple. She loves to rock purple in the comics. She loves to rock purple in that animated scene. I also like that when she was on that, she falls off the ladder, seemingly, right?
Yes.
Because she's climbing the ladder, and Clark's like, "Don't watch out because it's old." And then the sun radiates off her face, remember? And she's like, "You'll catch me." And I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet." And then him and Kara have some beers, good old American beers, in the back of the pickup truck, and they're talking about like whether or not Kara should, reveal her identity. And Clark has something he wants to tell Kara, which we'll get to in the final episode of this crossover. But you hear Lois say something like, "Ah," and then she goes, like "I'm good."
Yeah, it's like a thump, and he turns around and goes, "I'm okay."
She's like, "I'm fine." And and this is little, but the fact that he didn't just jet over there to make sure she's okay, that says a lot about the relationship.
Right.
It's such a small detail, but I was like, oh wow, he trusts her.
He just kind of laughed it off. He was like, "Oh, I guess she's
That's
okay."
Lois. She will be okay. I will help her at times of need, but I'm not,
Look, the woman.
like, whoop, she tripped. I have to run over there and,
The woman walks into a war zone to, interview warlords. What am I gonna do?
This is true.
She also knows how to halo jump and was once a Fury. No.
So we get a nice conversation between Kara and Clark, and then we see that our resident breachers, Ali and Barry, show up on Kara's Earth 38. And while they're there,
are they in costume?
No, they're in regular clothes because,
which is one thing I just like. Another cute little thing I point out. It's just like, okay, so we gave Barry the dark green shirt, and Oliver's got this red sweater on. I see what y'all did.
Yeah, and after a while, Barry starts to rock like this overcoat that he pops the collar to show that he's edgy and stuff like that. I was like, what's going on here?
Total edgelord punk rock
like,
Barry.
Oh yeah, we got the collars up. But there's a little bit of like miscommunication because they haven't met Superman before. They haven't met Lois Lane before, but they clear all that up. They explain to Kara that they're in each other's bodies, and Kara immediately recognizes them for who they really are.
Were they aware? Was Barry aware that it was a Superman?
He makes it seem like he is because he says, and I don't know if maybe this was a throwaway line on the crossovers.
Okay.
But in this particular episode, he says, "Oh, that cousin, the cousin."
Oh, okay.
And he's able to.
That's what I thought was interesting because he's only met Kara, and there's really no reason for him to assume there was another one.
And there's no background to Superman the character. Where if there was one on his Earth, he can postulate that there would be one here, but there is none of that. So I thought that was a little bit weird, but I might be missing something. Maybe. But they decide that they're gonna do like a little bit of training, and Barry gets Ollie back after 4 years for stabbing him in the back with remote-controlled arrows. Oliver does not take that kindly and decides to throw a couple cheap shots towards Barry's way, trying to goad Barry into a full-on fight, which Barry refuses. I'm actually pretty proud that Barry refused. There's some things that were said in that thing that would have made me swing.
Oh, Diggle would have punched him immediately.
So I was like, wow, you said a lot there, Ollie. And Barry, at one point, Ollie's like, "Well, you can't fight because you don't have a peanut gallery watching you. You can't fight with your wife. Can't do nothing without your wife in your ear." And Barry goes, "Come on, bro. Felicity basically invented quarterbacking." And he says it in a way that he's not trying to get him mad, but the way he said it was like, not even you believe what you just said.
Right.
Because look who's talking.
You're clearly doing that to mess with me.
Look who's talking. And at various points he says, "I'm not going to fight you." And then Barry, he charges at Barry, and Barry just like trips him, and he says like, "You see, had you been able to use my powers, I wouldn't have been able to lay a finger on you."
Right.
Which shows that the lack of concentration and just this idea of how, I guess, embarrassed Oliver was when he got stabbed in the back, that he felt like he needed to overcompensate by beating up his friend then and there.
Well, as we'll find in the entire thing, that like there is a through line of this idea that Oliver uses this misery to sort of power him.
Yes, and he doesn't think that Barry is miserable enough.
Right.
And so he doesn't have the wells to draw from to get this thing. But he finds out pretty soon that Barry does have his own heaps of troubles. He just chooses to deal with them a different way that complements his powers. And we get told that that's exactly what they should be doing. They should be using each other's mindset sets to help them use each other's abilities.
Right.
they get into a nice little heart-to-heart about that. My favorite part about that is when Kara comes out and it's like, thank you. And they're like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, I got super hearing. I was listening to the whole thing. I was just waiting for you guys to freaking hurry up and get to the point. For you
guys to just kiss and get it over with.
Yes. Once things are fixed, Cisco breaches through, tells them about Amazo, and I mark out as Superman's like, oh, I'm totally in on this. I'm coming too. And I'm like, oh my God, the breach opens up.
Now we just have like a get the reveal moment because it's like, who's this guy? It's like, oh, me? I'm just, open shirt.
Yeah, I'm just a friend. And you see the Superman logo. They come through, and it is Justice League Unlimited. It is Justice League the Animated Series. Right. It's everything we've always wanted to see, which is a team of superpowered people. I was hearing the whole thing, bro. And they came through, and
it's a really fun fight scene with all of them in the Amazo.
And in the beginning, they had it right. They were just trying to trip Amazo up so that Amazo wouldn't lock on anybody and get their target. So it's cool because you see, like, ice breath and speedster stuff and arrows and all kinds of stuff.
I love that at one point, like there's this visual tick that like, oh, he's got your powers, but like because he like the crest emblems, or some sort of emblem pops up on him, and like the arrow one pops up. I was just like, you can do flips now?
But now that's what it made me think of with the elongated man. It's like, where did you get the logo? How do you know what that is? How do you know what the branding of this man is?
Yeah, elongated man doesn't even have a brand, and that showed up. And
I was like, okay.
And like, oh, you took Arrow's powers. Fantastic. You have anger issues, and you can do flips.
He also has the power of graphic design. He can brand these superheroes with these cool new logos.
Right. It's the same power Lex Luthor had.
Oh, yeah, he used them for those emails. The fight's over pretty quickly because basically what ends up happening is they think that they have him beat. He's able to resurface and take all their powers on. Oliver, as the Flash, leads them onto a wild goose chase. When while Cisco comes up with some sort of virus to take down the machine because Sherlock's like, just turn it off.
Yes.
It is a machine. Just turn it off.
It's a computer. You turn it off. He's just like,
I hate when you're right. And so he
also like in true Cisco fashion, like every other tech character or just like the Power Rangers, like, oh yes, we can conjure up a gadget at any moment.
Oh yes, we'll get to that in the Arrow episode because they basically say like, we can't even tell you what we did unless you have like 3 PhDs because they literally just made a piece of technology up that had never existed before. But they eventually defeat Amazo by realizing that they can wait till he tries to phase and then shoot an arrow with this virus in it to kill. I thought it was going to like reprogram him and do some kind of thing and then he was going to fall over. No, they just stab him in the eye with it and he explodes.
It go boom.
He could have done that with any arrow, right? Like, it didn't have to be a virus arrow.
Probably not, because he probably would have either, like, it probably would have just, like, ow.
What if it would have phased and it would have shot one of the guys? It would have shot Ollie from behind. Like, Ollie threw.
That would have been the third arrow he got hit with this day.
Oh, my gosh. All kinds of. But right before he shoots the arrow, because there's no time to spare, he does, Amazo, you have failed this city. Barry does. And
I feel like Gustin Gray just had so much fun saying that line.
Yeah. He just likes dishing that one out.
They're like, Barry, hurry up! It's like, no, I must hit the
This is the line. I can't do it without the line.
You told me to be Oliver. This is what you do every time, right?
With Superman's help, they're able to defeat Amazo, return to Star Labs, and Cisco tries to vibe. Well, he was at one point in the episode he saw a mysterious figure in a random vibe. So he decided he's going to really vibe and show Oliver and Barry what he saw. And he sees the Monitor talking to Deegan using the Book of Destiny. But the Monitor pulls a full-on Superman from Justice League and just turns and goes, hey, I see you there.
I see you there. How you doing, buddy?
Which I thought was pretty funny because he's like, it doesn't matter what you can do. You can't stop what's coming. And Cisco has one of his trademark nosebleeds. And Flash is able to speed sketch. Ollie's able to speed sketch what they saw in the vibe and see that there's a Wayne Tower in the background. Therefore, this is taking place in Gotham City. Therefore, Gotham City needs to be the next place that they go.
We've all waited 7 years for this.
It's cool because the art that Ollie drew when he speed drew is Jim Lee.
Who I'm convinced drew it that fast.
Yeah, right? Jim Lee.
If you've seen the way that Jim Lee can just, like, workout sketches
and
at
those
cons.
lines, man, those lines. He
loves lines.
Yeah, he's good. He's really, really good at that. I mean, hello, he's like famous for it.
But also, like Superman, Batman, lines.
They dropped the name Gotham City instantly. Instantly, when they do, we are given a brand new theme. We hear a theme trumpet up, and it's cool because it's sort of like heroic and gothic. Like you hear like choir in the background.
Right.
There's sort of a little of a march to it, and you see Kate Kane's Batwoman standing, on top of a building, and kind of looks like the Watchtower. Like not the Watchtower. What's that? They had like a building in Batman that Oracle operated out of, almost like the Belfry in Detective Comics.
I know what you're talking about. The clock tower.
There you go. It's like a clock tower or something like that. Yeah, it gave me definite clock tower vibes.
The music was definitely interesting because as someone who's been like who's immersed and bombarded himself with the Hans Zimmer scores for Batman for the past decade, it's like, oh, this is a bit more trumpety and
yes,
sure.
Yeah. We get into part 2. Where we get a custom Arrow opening where Barry is has replaced Ollie in all the scenes, which I thought was hilarious.
It was.
All that stuff was so
I had to go
funny.
back and watch to see, like, wait, did they do this earlier? No, it's only Barry.
It was just only in this scene, yeah. I thought it was so funny to see Barry get punched in the face in prison.
Once again, I am the Green Arrow. No, you're not.
Yes, really, really funny. But we see that Argus is trying to bust Ravager, a.k.a. Deathstroke's son.
Oh, wild Deathstroke has appeared.
Like literally, no mask, nothing. He's just going for it. And he looks like he's about to kill all the Argus agents. Like he's about to run through all these guys.
He makes a whole joke about it. It was like, does that account for the 4 Argus murder?
Because they're shooting him dead on. No one's hitting him.
Yeah.
But Barry, Ollie, and Kara show up and use their various powers to stop the criminal, and then try to talk to Curtis and Diggle, and like, hey, what's going on? They do the whole you're you and you're you,
right?
But they decide that they're going to help them.
I appreciate Diggle's continuity. That he's just like, oh crap, you brought Supergirl. This is bad.
Yeah, every time it's the 3 of you, something goes wrong. How do you feel about the decision? This was a jaw-dropping moment to me. How do you feel about the decision to keep Felicity out of it?
Out of the
loop.
Oh, that was tough.
Because when I found out that she didn't know, I was really taken aback because I was like, the first thing you did was tell everybody in the Flash.
Right.
Like, you don't trust Felicity to handle this? That seemed big to me. I was like, well, now everyone has to walk on eggshells for her because...
Well, she's got a gun now. She's not afraid to use it.
Felicity's got a gun.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, this was the first time we saw Ravager in armor. And the Red Skies have continued. Curtis makes a note of being like, what is going on here? These Red Skies. But they decide that from the sketch and knowing that it's in Gotham, that they're going to go to Gotham, and that makes them have a discussion about Batman.
Right.
Which then has Oliver be like, I'm the original vigilante. Batman doesn't exist. He's just concocted by the GCPD to keep criminals in line.
I am Batman. What?
How did you feel about Oliver's take on Batman? What a cool, like, tongue-in-cheek meta approach to the Batman mythos.
I thought it was very interesting. Like, I was amused by the idea that, like, he completely doesn't believe in this thing, and that, like, Gotham City's just this trash mess to him that no one's been able to clean up.
Yeah. A dead city, they say at several points.
Yes.
I'm
amused by the idea that, like, he thinks that the police department is able to create this fallacy to keep criminals scared.
It would be the equivalency of any town really believing in the boogeyman.
Yeah.
And you finding out that there's no boogeyman. The cops just say that there's a boogeyman to keep people from committing crimes. Yeah. Like, that's a whole plan. That's a whole act.
Right.
So,
it's
funny.
To be approved by the mayor because it's on city money.
So it's ironic that Ollie's just like, oh no, he's definitely not real. I do take umbrage with the idea that Gotham has always existed, that seemingly Batman himself has always existed, and Batwoman now exists in a world across the street from Star City. When we were first hearing about Batwoman being introduced in here, it made sense that it was Elseworlds, because people were like, oh, I guess they're going to go to a world where there is no Batman, there's just a Batwoman.
And I made it very clear on a few occasions, like, I wanted I wanted her to be on Supergirl's Earth because I wanted those two to banter.
And they've also been hints that Kara's cousin, Clark, has dealt with Batman on their Earth. On
and
Earth 38.
Because there's also the very awkward connective triangle between Supergirl, Maggie Sawyer, and Batwoman.
Yes, exactly. Which would be pretty. That would be that's actually pretty interesting.
The ex-girlfriend of Supergirl's sister.
Yep. And if those were two to get married and have kids, whoop. Yeah, that is a barrel of monkeys. But so they have to do their best job in this episode to explain to us why we have not heard of both Gotham and Bruce for 7 years. And their best excuse is that Gotham is such a crappy town that people have just abandoned it in conversation.
It is the place the light no longer touches.
Yeah, they've abandoned it in conversation. They've abandoned it on the news.
Except for that one time that Ollie brought it up.
Yes. Which he only brought up because people were had dead to rights evidence that he was the Green Arrow.
Right.
And so he had to come up with some name drop somebody. Somebody
by
else.
the way, I started playing with the timeline because at some point, I'm going to jump ahead. At some point they say that Bruce Wayne has been gone for 3 years.
Right.
So I'm just wait. Were they aware of that?
But that's what I'm saying.
Is Ollie aware of that when he says that line?
Right, he's just saying it because Bruce is never going to come back to hear it. But yeah, it's all this stuff. There's a lot that they have to answer for, but I'm gonna let it slide for the crossover. They're gonna have to do more on the back end of it, but they go out, they go to Gotham City, where immediately, of course, because they're in Gotham, they get accosted by a gang of people who are trying to mug them. Oliver tries to de-escalate the situation while Barry whoops everybody's ass and points a gun right at the leader's face, ready to pull the trigger. Cops show up. Is that
what you would have done?
Is that when Merlin first shows up as a cop?
No.
Merlin shows up as a cop later on, right?
Yes.
With the Trigger Twins.
Yes.
Okay. So the cops show up and they're like, we have Oliver Queen, we have the Green Arrow here. We need to arrest these people. And so they do. Felicity and Curtis figure out that the weather might be from someone trying to breach from another Earth. And like I said, Cisco and them show up. And they're like, oh, yeah, this is totally going on our show / town, too.
Right.
And we think it has to do with breaching. So we're all going to try to come together and come up with some sort of technology to get whatever's trying to breach over on this side. Exactly. But that's when it's let out that this has happened. The red lightning happened roughly around the time of the body switch, which is something that Felicity did not know about. And it lets the cat out of the bag, something that Felicity is not too happy with. Back in Gotham, the heroes are in jail and argue.
I did find it interesting that Felicity immediately believes the body switch.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no argument that no, the dude who looks like Barry Allen is my husband.
I guess it was the idea that everyone else was already in on it, especially when you find out later on that Iris figured it out.
Right.
That's a real knife that gets twisted by Cisco later on.
Right.
But back in Gotham, everyone's in jail and they argue over what method is best. I thought that was kind of funny because Kara's like, I would have just flew out of there. What are you guys doing? Kara feels like a real babysitter in the situation.
Yeah, she was the babysitter.
You guys don't know what the hell you're doing. And I love how Barry says yeah, you're right. We probably should have done that. We'll take your advice next time. And she's like, next time? Yeah, okay, because there's gonna be a next time that someone tries to pull a gun on 3 superheroes. then the woman I hate, Black Siren, denies Oliver Queen and Barry Allen bail for no reason, because nothing has happened. Last I checked, she just got Ollie out of real prison.
Yes.
But now they both deserve a night in jail. I don't know what's going on. I hate you, Black Siren, and that's just how that's gonna stay. But they are bailed out by a mysterious person, and when they refuse to get in that person's car, they show them a gun, which is a callback to what was just said about when's the next time we're all gonna try to be, 3 heroes are gonna be stopped by a gun. I thought that was so funny, and I thought Kara's reaction of well, I guess it is coincidental. I thought that was so cute. I think that the 3 of them really have fun together on screen.
Kara is just a ray of sunshine, and Kara finds a way to pull chemistry out of both of them. She
really does. Honestly, she does. By
the way, Kara and Barry were also one of the fan-shipped relationships at some point.
I do remember that. Because they were really good in that season 1 crossover together.
Yes.
I also like that when we first see Gotham, when they're first on Gotham, that's when Ollie's like, oh, I got somebody I can try to pump for somebody he slept with. And then Barry's like, oh yeah, and he slept with his ex's sister. And she's like, ew. And he's like, that's not important. But
it's like, Barry!
They did one thing to establish that this is in Gotham. There was gargoyles on top of the building. And I was like, wow, that's all you need. All you gotta do is show some Gothic buildings.
Right.
And you're like, this is Gotham. This is I thought that was pretty cool. And you see the bat signal, and supposedly this is the first time we've seen this bat signal since March 14th, 1969. A bat symbol on television.
Right.
Symbol.
Did they not have one in Birds of Prey?
Unless they were doing a flashback, because she didn't have one, did she? And if she does, it's probably not a bat. It's like some sort of...
I figured it would have come up
griffin
at some point.
Or something. It's like some sort of weird hodgepodge cat bat.
It was the Mockingjay.
There you go. The Mockingjay. Sound like that, right? Some kind of whistling nonsense. But
I can't whistle.
What's cool is when they were arrested, they were arrested on the corner of Nolan and Burton.
Yes.
Probably the two people who redefined Batman the most. Mm-hmm. I did not see Snyder Way.
Down the street from Katie Finger.
I was say I did not see Snyder Way at all, but I mean, that's neither here nor there.
Snyder Way is a bit more of a dilapidated corner. It's not too great.
I heard it looks nice, but doesn't really lead anywhere.
It's all a dead end.
It's always at a dead end. You think you know where you're going because everything looks familiar, but then it ends in a dead end. Oh wow, that was a fun analogy. But Kara said they're like, well, we should just start looking around for this guy Deegan because they can't find him. And Kara's like, well, I'll fly around and I'll deal with it. And,
it's so easy for me.
Yeah, you hear like Barry's like, I don't think that the current vigilante here is going to care too much for you flying around. And she says, well, unless she has kryptonite on her, I'm not really worried. Which she should kind of be on her toes because she didn't think Ollie had kryptonite on him. And I mean, who knows how much Batwoman, plans if she's anything like her cousin. But
she also confirms that the torrid relationship between Batman and Superman very much exists on her planet.
Yeah, it was very loosely said when Guardian showed up on Supergirl. She was like, my cousin hates vigilantes or something like that. Right. She was like, my cousin always has problems with vigilantes. So they've been kind of playing this idea.
They play with their Gotham City on Supergirl quite often.
Which means that there's a Batman and a Gotham on Earth 38.
Yes.
This is all taking place on Earth 1 as we know it.
Because she also in one episode makes a comment about like, I thought we only did masks in that other city.
Yeah. Cisco says that Iris could tell that Barry wasn't Barry, and Felicity and Caitlin have a pep talk because Felicity is feeling like crap because she couldn't tell. Felicity and Caitlin's pep talk was odd to me because it was like Felicity made a good point of saying like, what's love without respect and honesty? And then Caitlin was basically said, I dated a lot of guys and a lot of my guys died. So like, don't take for granted that your guy's alive.
Right.
Which is not what Felicity was saying. Felicity was saying, oh no, I know my guy's alive. But he's lying to me all the time. All the time he's lying to me.
Like he just went to prison.
Yes.
Didn't tell anyone.
Unilaterally went to prison. And that was something that Iris spilled the tea on with Barry. Remember, she's like, I don't know if you know this, but she didn't even tell Felicity. What a jerk. I'm like, wow, I'm really gossiping about my man Oliver Queen here. Okay, cool. Yeah, Caitlin and Felicity have a pep talk. Kara and Kate have a pep talk because Kara wants to find out why Bruce Wayne left because she knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman and she used her X-ray vision. She knows that Batwoman is Kate. She knows everything at this point, and you even see that.
I think there's an air of like, okay, unlike you two, I have seen this all before.
Exactly, and that's why she's so cavalier. I feel.
Yes.
And you see the William Shakespeare.
I was gonna say, I think when you've seen the actual Batman, you're just like, yeah, it's Batwoman. Whatever.
It's on a different Earth, but I get it. The same thing like if you saw Martian Manhunter. Like, they would all be like, what the hell? And she'd be like, I get it, it's John.
I've been in this room several times.
You see her pull out a William Shakespeare out of a box, and that is the William Shakespeare that they used in the 1966 Batman series that used to have the button.
Old Pezzy himself.
Yep, old Pez dispensing William Shakespeare. But what I think is cool is that after they have that nice little pep talk, you find out that Deegan is working at Arkham Asylum. Mm-hmm. Was Deegan working at Arkham Asylum in the Flash episode, or is the idea that he was a fringe, like medical student / doctor, and decided that if he was gonna rewrite reality, it's just to screw with people in an asylum.
I came to the conclusion that like he's been in the asylum, but like because the asylum is dirty and corrupted, like he's just been operating out of it.
Okay, so like occasionally he does like talks at the local school about psychiatry and stuff like that.
So, yeah,
I could see both of those.
I did find it interesting here that like Kate Kane, despite being a bit standoffish, is like kind of accepting of Kara.
I think she
like
accepts
there's a
Kara's
warmness between the two of them that does not happen with the other two.
I think one, and this might be sexist, I think it's a girl thing. But the second thing is I think the gumption in which Kara approaches her every time that she approaches her makes Kate realize that Kara is not going to back down. Like Kara is not going to...
There's like an air of respect out of it.
Yeah. Like Ali was being too apologetic and too Barry. And Barry was being too... At one point he goes... We're supposed to believe some Flash because he just shows up and says that yada yada yada. Like he's being too pessimistic, and I feel like Kara is the alien, is the realist.
That was the only time it got me where I was just like, okay, wait, we've told everyone. Are we still playing characters now?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I get. Yeah,
like we Felicity.
Everyone
knows,
should
Iris
know
and
who
them knows,
everyone
we've
is. Yeah,
all been crying this to the rooftops. Why am I still playing mean?
After the reveal of that Homeboy is working at Arkham, they decide to go over there and figure out what's going on, but not before what was dubbed the Geek Squad comes up with a multi-dimensional anchor to get that person who's breaching over. But all they managed to do is get a cloud of interdimensional blue energy, and where we see 90s Flash show up and demand that they get the book away from Deegan, the Book of Destiny, which coincides with the fact that our heroes are looking for Deegan. So they all come together, Geek Squad and the heroes, to come up with a plan to get Deegan out of Arkham Asylum. And their plan ends up being they're going to pretend that Caitlin is I guess just mentally ill, but because she's a meta with cold powers and Gotham has seen that before, they will just admit her, and that's exactly what happens. They're all like, "Yeah, we got a girl that can make things cold," like, and she's like, "Yeah, go, just wheel her in."
Here, fill out the form.
And Arkham Asylum is notorious for its like lax security and lax, process of.
I don't know if he's in the other stuff, but at that point, like, I'm kind of disappointed we didn't get old Hook Hand Cash.
Oh yeah, right. That would have been pretty damn cool. So you get what did you call this? You call this the Batman? They Harley Quinn Batman.
They Harley'd his rogues gallery.
Yes,
we're going to just lightly notice. We're going to vaguely point them out to you that they exist without actually doing it.
We definitely got like a hallway of Easter eggs. You see Cobblepot's name, which is the Penguin. Pamela Isley, Poison Ivy. You see Basil Carlo, which is Clayface. The Riddler's name, Scarecrow's name, and then you see M. Guggenheim. Turns out that's one of the writers for the Arrowverse.
Yes.
So he was able to sneak himself in there. They do find Deegan, and they confront him.
I think Mark Guggenheim was just spouting out that he could see the future, and they locked him up.
I did that once before. It gets dangerous.
It does.
But you see that they're having this conversation, and Deegan's like, "Why would I?" And this is the truth. Like, why? Y'all mad? And y'all came over here and said I should change it, and now I'm gonna just change it.
Yeah.
Screw that. I'm not gonna do any of that. And then he presses like a breakout button. What does he hit?
I don't know.
He hit some button that unlocks the doors. There's a button on his desk that at will unlock the doors of this maximum security psychological prison.
Maximum security.
And so he hits this button. It's a mass breakout. And you get to see a man put on a gold mask. Mm-hmm. We find out that man is Psycho Pirate, a very big character in the Crisis on Infinite Earth. So we start to get those tingling feelings of Crisis that are continuing from the red skies, the Monitor. Everything's pointing in that direction.
Sure.
But we even get a look at Nora Freeze, who on this Earth is
very well alive.
Mr. Freeze? Or was that Victor Freeze's gun?
she takes it out of a box that says V Freeze.
Okay. So we're led to believe that they both were Freeze people.
I'm honestly not sure how that works.
The Freeze couple
in this one, like I'd like to believe it was a complete reversal, but in this case, like Nora is very much alive, and I don't think we'll be seeing her again. I don't know.
But Nora Freeze gets into a scuffle with Killer Frost, which I thought was kind of poetic and cool. And Nora Freeze is being played by Cassandra Jean Amell, Steve Amell's wife, which I thought she did fine. Now we talked a little bit off air about this, but they go to apprehend Nora Freeze, and a vial of fear gas smashes, and they see each other to be Eobard Thawne and Malcolm Merlyn respectively. So Barry sees Malcolm Merlyn and Oliver sees Eobard Thawne. I personally thought it would have made more sense if Ollie saw Malcolm Merlyn, his personal fear, and Barry saw Eobard Thawne. I think it makes sense mentally if they have the same memories and mental faculties that they've always had their entire lives. Then their fear would be brought from those memories. But also the idea that the physical fight, Barry would feel like he's fighting a speedster, which he is. He is fighting Ollie, who's a speedster, and Ollie would feel like he was fighting an archer, thinking he was fighting Malcolm Merlyn in Barry. But you had a pretty good point.
Basically that it's more of the idea that even though they have these sort of like this awareness that they are not who they're supposed to be, that they still are in a world where they lived each other's lives. So the Grant Gustin, who is Oliver Queen, has lived all of Oliver Queen's lives and has all of Oliver Queen's histories. So when you bring up like his worst fear, it becomes Malcolm Merlyn.
Yeah.
And thusly such, Stephen Amell as the Flash would be good old Eobard Thawne Reverse Flash.
Well, we both got kind of what we wanted because I'm a huge Reverse Flash mark.
Yes.
And I know you love Malcolm Merlyn.
I do.
Mr. Barrowman.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
John Scott Barrowman.
You know there is footage of him watching Stephen Amell's match with Stephen Amell and
Christopher Daniels?
No. Before Stephen Amell and Neville.
Adrian Neville
against
Stardust and
King Barrett.
Yes.
There's footage of him watching it.
Funny.
And it's just him going, like, whoa! I didn't even know if he could do that. Like, but it's so cool because they're watching it for a friend.
Yeah, it's like there's a genuine excitement of watching his buddy just bounce around the ring.
Yeah. Well, they defeat their respective, hallucinations after Batwoman knocks them both basically on their asses. And she's the one who stops Psycho Pirate. She does the infamous "I'm Batman, so I don't care about your car roof" thing, where I just jump on your car roof and the weight of the world just smashes it to a million bits. So she did that, and then she used a cool grappling hook and a pretty nonchalant batarang to take out Psycho Pirate and his goons. But she tells them to leave Gotham, and Kate Kane. So I always hate when they say that. Like, say anybody else. It's mad obvious that if Kate Kane was the last woman I spoke to, and then I'm a woman here in disguise. Like, she's like, Kate Kane told you to leave Gotham. I think you should. I'm like, what? Why? Are you Kate Kane? Right. Somebody would just do that. But the entire time
you weren't there for that. How do you know?
The entire time I'm thinking to myself, Kara has to know, right? She has to know. There was a scene that they showed where she was looking through the prison with X-ray vision.
Right.
And she's able to find the Book of Destiny. They're able to grab the Book of Destiny. And no, they don't allude to it to the very end where she says, like, hey, X-ray vision, you're making your cousin proud and stuff. And they
kind of see through the mask. It's a thing.
Yeah. They tease a team up, and that's when Kate says it will be the world's finest. And I smiled because
it's so cute.
A better world. In a better world, we would have gotten a world's finest film. In a better world, we would have seen Batman and Superman be pals.
It's so sweet, it gives me cavities.
We would have seen them be pals before they fought violently, but we got none of that. So, to each its own. But we got it on here.
Because we have to keep milking that sweet, Dark Knight Returns, super grit, powerlifter, blockhead Batman.
I guess so, right? 60-year-old. My ribs are broken Batman. Suit. Terrible. But how do you feel about Ruby Rose, Batwoman? Before we get off of her, like, how do you feel about her Batcave thingy? Like her.
A funny random note about the Batcave. Like, she has the whole elevator freight that she goes down to go into the Batcave, and I was just like, so you have your outfit stashed right in front of the elevator?
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of Star Labs. If you came to Star Labs to talk about anything, you would just see the Flash outfit there and go,
right.
Wait a minute. What's that doing there?
I was like, you took 2 steps out the elevator. It's just like, Batwoman time. I was like, anyone who comes in just sees it.
I like the walk. I do feel like they told her to be like really, really upset though in the walk. Right. And I felt like you can kind of tell that
you have to walk with
she's putting on her pout face.
The angriest of purpose.
Yeah, what are you so angry about? You're about to go beat some people up.
As you noted off air, like, according to you, Miss Lance would make the fantastic Batwoman because she just has constant anger face.
That's it. If you put that, all you need is. As a matter of fact, I would pay to see Kate Kane whoop Black Siren's ass. I'd watch that for a week.
She's just on repeat.
Every dun, 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 dun. That's all you need.
Scarface on repeat.
But to finish up this Arrow episode, they grab the book, they go to Argus, and Flash from Earth 90 shows up, thinks John Diggle is a Green Lantern, which is, I mean...
Yeah, that was a random cut, wasn't it?
Yes, but I would like a Jon Stewart Green Lantern. I don't know if I could deal with John Diggle Green Lantern on
I'd
that
like
show.
it in the movies.
I think that'd be way too many people if they added him to that show, and it kind of would make Ali redundant. You spoke about like Ragman, same thing. Like if you have a Ragman, do you need somebody with sticks and pointy sticks?
Right, like especially like with the scale of a Green Lantern, it's like here's this like grounded street level, brawling team with martial arts skills, and here's Diggle with the ring that can just conjure guns.
Yeah.
With infinite ammo.
By the way, on the side. So they're all like, Flash of the Earth 90 recognizes the Monitor, says like, oh yeah, he's here. He's starting some kind of craziness that's going on with the multiverse, the Elseworlds, all that stuff. So Barry, Oliver, Kara, and the other Barry from Earth 90, they go to talk to the Monitor, who's like, oh, no, listen, I'm just trying to test out these worlds because there's something huge coming, and I want to see who's worthy, who's going to be the champions to save the multiverse from an upcoming crisis. There's that word again.
Yes.
And then he's like, and it's cool because you guys even managed to get the book. And then he like does something and takes the book right back.
Like, you're the only guys who have ever gotten the book. I'm going to go take that back now.
He just takes the book back,
okay,
gives it back to Deegan, who rewrites reality. And this time, Barry and Oliver wake up where they are criminals known as the Trigger Twins. And
well, firstly off, like, can we just, I'm just amused by like the ease of like the whole Monitor altercation.
Oh yeah, he's all like,
it's like, I'm going to take this book here back. Thanks.
People have been likening him to Thanos.
It's probably worse.
The portal coming through.
Oh, okay.
I just do what I want. You guys, I can see that you're trying, but
I was just more amused by like 90, like Wesley Ship Flash is just like, I'm going to stop you. He's just like,
oh, he just
nope.
And I was wondering, like, did he just kill him? Like, because at first he like resets it.
Yeah.
Like resets the lineup.
Right.
But at first I was like, is he dead? Like did he just kill that man? Oh my god, it was so crazy.
He's like he's in China with the monks and Goldberg.
I guess. Oh yeah, Big Sir.
Yes.
But yeah, they wake up and they are the Trigger Twins, which is a crazy callback from the freaking 50s.
That was a new one.
That's a callback from the 50s. They were a heroic brother duo of like cowboys, but then they got brought back in the 90s as villains in Detective Comics, and eventually they became Black Lantern. So that's like their whole thing. But what's funny is that they were killed in the comics by Wild Dog and Vigilante, 2 Arrow characters. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Only one of those still around.
Ricardo Diaz, Ravager, and Malcolm Merlin are the cops
in this new universe.
And doesn't Ali just like beat the hell out of Ricardo Diaz like off the jump? Like, I don't even care if you're like a different Ricardo Diaz.
He just like turns, grabs the gun, but
beats them up, and they go to run for it when they find that they are confronted by a black suited Superman. And that's how the Arrow Elseworlds episode ends.
Yes, the black suited Superman that everybody wanted.
And the one we saw set photos of. So everyone was like, is Superman just plain evil in this thing?
Right.
But we find out when Supergirl opens up that Deegan use the book of destiny to turn himself into Superman. Because I mean, come on, literally laundry list. Like if you're gonna turn yourself into anybody,
if you were told to think bigger, I was like, yes, I'll be Superman.
And they said like you wanted the power of a god in your hands, like do something with it. But we see this is we're alluded that we might get a black suited Superman in Justice League, so this checks off a lot of people's boxes.
Yes, it does.
How do you feel about?
It also gives him the collar, which means bad.
Yes, this is the High Chancellor collar. This is the New 52 collar.
Yes. Collar Superman means a bad day,
and it means he sleeps with Wonder Woman. But how do you feel about the black suited Superman and the getup? How did you feel about evil Superman's portrayal?
I had fun with it. Like it definitely didn't come off like it was evil evil Superman that you are alluded to in like the Nightmare Realms or the Injustice series, but like definitely a dude drunk on power with the idea of like playing Superman.
Yeah,
it's like a child playing pretend Superman and just having the time of his life.
And where a normal child would falter, right? Like I would just end up being selfish, and this would all end up being about me. That you hear later on, his co-workers are basically like it's all about him. And yeah, that's black suit we cannot get away from, right? Like this black suit is as tied to his mythos as everything else. Every iteration has shown some sort of this black suit. Yes. So I guess it was a long time coming. But like you said, the biggest difference is that damn collar. But even though Barry and Oliver are confronted by a man who can snap both their necks and has snapped necks in the past, they are able to trick him with they're able to trick him with some kind of crane fiasco and get away. Yes, because he still wants to save people. He still thinks he wants
to be the hero, and thus he must save people.
Exactly, and because he has to save people, he is predictable. So they put him in a predicament in which he would do the predictable thing and save people. They're like, well, we need somebody with tech, so we need to go find Cisco. Meanwhile, Kara is in Star Labs, which is now a containment center, a Superman's headquarters, but also like a containment center, which is cool because the first time Star Labs ever appeared in the comics was in a Superman comic.
Oh, okay.
So the idea that he would use that as his base makes some sense. We see they have like a kind of a cutesy conversation of like, oh, you didn't want to take my gender too? I thought that was kind of cutesy, and you see Kara is there.
I did kind of find that sort of interesting because like you've met Supergirl, but you went to Superman, even though you probably I don't remember if you like had a interaction with Superman particularly.
No, definitely.
Well, it's just like, okay, you just decided to take that vision. Sure, I guess the book told you.
Yeah, that book that makes you see all.
It makes you understand Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah. Turns out that Flash hadn't used Star Labs until the 1990s John Wesley Ship show. So bringing everything all around.
And now it's just his thing.
So they're looking for Cisco. They open a door to an apartment and they find the greatest studio apartment in the history of studio apartments, which is where the Monitor's hanging out, which just seems to be like this void of space. And he's like, let me talk to you guys about your destinies.
Yes.
And he basically tells them that they gotta find out who's gonna be their true selves, that Ali seems to be suicidal, and that maybe he will find this death that he's looking for. And we're gonna get more about that later on. But they go find Cisco, who, like every other Earth, is every time he's on another Earth, he's evil. We had Reverb Cisco,
but also somewhat awesome.
Yes, still smart.
Right.
He's never a failure.
Like, in some way has reached a height of his potential where he's either a business owner or a mob boss.
Which maybe got you thinking as to maybe these guys...
or a successful lounge singer.
Maybe these guys are holding him back. Maybe, maybe Team Flash is holding him back because Rebirth said he could be a god.
Yeah.
And he had his own Ramon Industries or whatever.
Yes.
In Flashpoint, and now this, where he's like, I thought that was a little bit expository. He's like, can you still breach? He's like, how do you think I got in all those bank vaults? That's why I got $100 bills just on top of counters and stuff. But they go to Cisco asking for help, and Cisco introduced them to what was affectionately called Superman's worst pal.
Yes.
Jimmy,
Superman's worst pal,
Jimmy
James
Cheese
Olsen.
Whiz Olsen.
I love James Olsen.
James Olsen, evil James Olsen.
And I still just to this day love the idea that it's just like, no. We're going to make Jimmy Olsen a hunky black man.
I also like
the object of women's desires everywhere. But still, Jimmy Olsen,
but still kind of hokey.
Yes.
I would have also liked a few more stars in this, only because we got to see people like Jimmy Olsen be evil and Caitlin Frost. It would have been cool to Caitlin Frost. I said that all wrong. Killer Frost.
Yes.
Killer Snow.
Yes.
It would have been cool to see like a gang of villains become the insurgency.
Right.
You know, but we saw no opposition to Superman.
Like something like Citizen Cold kind of thing.
Right. We saw no opposition to Superman. People were just kind of like, he's a dick.
Well, it's Superman. You don't get much of one.
Oh, yeah. That actually makes a lot of sense. But, yeah, we see Homeboy. You haven't been watching Legends of Tomorrow, right?
I have not.
So you didn't get like the whole Gary thing?
No.
The bartender that was all like, oh, you guys, I love the Trigger Twins.
Oh, he was supposed to be a...
He's a character on Legends of Tomorrow that fanboys over everything.
Oh, okay.
Like, he's real, like, wacky.
That's why the camera kept focusing on him.
And at one point he goes, you guys are heroes. Well, not heroes, legends.
Right.
And so I was like, dun.
Okay.
Yeah.
I felt like, okay, you're not just a random character because the camera keeps, like, centering on you.
It's the only connective tissue for Legends, but, you know. It is what it is. Yeah, they fight. They decide that they convince him that he made, like, you can breach to other Earths. You don't know you can, but you can breach to other Earths. We need to go get Superman, right?
Yes. They go to the Fortress of
because they also understand that Kara is being taken by regular Superman, and they do not stand even the closest of chances.
No, not at all.
With that Superman, so
they
go
imposter Superman.
So they decide to go to the Fortress of Solitude, which is basically ripped out of Superman 1 and 2. Yeah. Which seems like the very definitive. Like, we haven't had like a new take on the Fortress in a minute.
No, we haven't. It's usually all like these giant ice crystals.
One of the, I think it was New 52. One of them, he had a fortress like in the ocean.
Did he?
It was somewhere that's not where it usually is. And I was like, oh, okay. Backups. I mean, you gotta have backups, right? People just always breaking in and stuff like that.
I mean, Batman has a base on the moon. What?
Hell bad armor, baby. Yeah, so they decided they were gonna go to get Clark. They get Clark. Is this when she's wearing the
gown?
Gown?
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, look at these. Look at everybody. Oh yeah, because Cisco sees Steel's hammer.
Yes.
We see Steel's hammer.
I didn't know what that was for a while.
Yeah, it's Steel's hammer of Shaq fame, I guess, or Reign of the Supermen fame.
That's better.
Steel, which maybe we're getting that on the Superman show. They supposedly making a Superman show too.
I hope not.
But you get
it's not going to be good for the whole.
Good Superman fights bad Superman without destroying Metropolis. I need to say that again. Without destroying Metropolis. At one point, they stopped to fight so that Superman could put down a helicopter.
That is an aesthetic choice that a lot of people do not make. I watched the animated series. Cities got destroyed in that cartoon constantly. Do not start.
Listen. They're able to get the Book of Destiny because they find it in that little Reverse Flash time vault that's inside Star Labs. And
which, by the way, like, before I stop you, like, they spent a lot of money on all of these Supergirl and Superman scenes for this crossover.
Yeah, you're not lying.
Like, they put work into the CGI.
I think she flies in every episode.
Yeah, and like they have that cool scene where she's like flying through the hallway and the Superman fight. And
some of that stuff could look kind of hokey and video gamey.
Yeah,
but I think they did.
The budget's gonna be what the budget is.
But I'm glad they got a lot of this stuff in there, and they're able to give the book to Clark because Supergirl can't read it. She we just missed the entire plot point. Supergirl convinces Alex
and
to
Alex
let her
Danvers
out.
Of this Earth.
And Alex Danvers.
The first time we've ever seen an Alex Danvers on Earth 1.
On Earth 1. She convinces Alex Danvers to let her go by relating to her through describing how her Alex is and thinking that they have similar things. I half wanted Alex to like electrocute her, like hit a button on the thing and just you're in jail and I'm your jailer. You will say absolutely anything to get out of here. Anything. My boss, Superman, that guy, he says that you're no good. you would tell me anything. You would tell me that our parents have the same name.
Certainly.
Which is why I never understood why people, if you're fighting somebody, why it's like, he might be telling the truth. But I do think that the conversation was sweet. And it definitely had hallmarks of that Supergirl optimism, that Supergirl.
Yes.
Every individual is important. Save Alex, save the world in a kind of way.
Sure.
Free Alex, free the world. So
I see what you did there.
Yeah. And I do think that it was sweet and stuff like that. It's a little bit of
I think the
suspension
idea,
of disbelief that she just.
I think
was
the
like,
idea
okay,
is that
fine.
like they have that whole scene where she listens to the conversation first between Alex Danvers and Killer Frost, and she's able to pick up ticks that like, okay, maybe I can manipulate this because it sounds like she's going through a lot of the same things my sister did.
Yeah.
Because like her sister's really disgruntled with her place in life. She's taking shifts at this. She's taking all the shifts at work so she doesn't have to go home.
Yeah.
So it's like, she's not having any luck dating men. So it's like, okay, maybe
this
I
sounds
can.
familiar. I know this story.
Right. Maybe I can click into these things and connect with this person, and she can see that like these things aren't right, and basically helps drag this Alex also out of the closet.
She hears all those things while also finding out that she can use her super breath inside the
That
cell,
one was a little weird.
but that doesn't go anywhere. It goes like absolutely nowhere.
Unless it was just made to get her attention.
I guess because she's able to convince Alex to let her go. Alex does let her go. I also think, like you said, a lot of it has to do with the fact that it was expressed that maybe not everyone who works for Superman believes in Superman's goals.
Right.
And so if she can play on the doubt that Alex has for Superman, she could eventually get her on her side, and that's exactly what happens. She uses a quote from the past.
even the like where Superman returns to the base and they're all just like, "Great job, Superman."
Oh yeah.
All seems really
well,
hammed
I liked how he smashed that. That was the first thing he did, was go in there and smash the controls. And at one point,
very
you're a monster. No, I'm Superman.
It's very Kylo Ren.
I love that whole "you're a monster." No, I'm Superman. It was such a childish thing to say.
They all do seem like really hammed up, and they're just playing the game to make Superman feel good.
Or else he'll just rip off everybody's head.
Yeah.
We've seen what he did to Shazam in Injustice.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it gets crazy.
Killed a child, man.
Killed the child. Clark is able to see everything through this book, and he is able to get Barry, Oliver into their real bodies, and Kara all charged up.
Mm-hmm.
But Deegan gets the book back and attempts to rewrite reality once more.
The Book of Tesseract?
So they decide, they pull to the side and they decide to come up with a plan that I think is horrible. I actually think this is where a lot of this falls apart, because they decide that Barry's going to run in one direction and Kara's going to run in another direction. This was supposed to be, I think, an homage to Superman when he did this.
And it just keeps reminding me of how stupid that idea is.
No, I mean, it does defy a lot of logic.
Superman just killed everyone on that planet.
It defies a lot of logic, and it defies a lot of actual scientific evidence.
Right. No, it would not slow down time. You would have stopped the planet or slowed down the planet, and everyone who's standing there would have been like, "What's going on?"
But Clark sees in the book that this is how they're supposed to die. And this is the biggest carrot that they've dangled, because this is how these two characters die in the actual Crisis on Earth. Well, this is how Flash dies. Yes, this is definitely how Flash dies.
We've wasted the death scene already.
Yes. With this, how Flash dies on Crisis on Infinite Earths. He runs so fast that he basically disintegrates in saving the world, saving the world.
Just falls right into the Speed Force.
Right. And we'll get to why this plan is dumb in a bit. But the idea is that they'll do that, but Clark is like, no, they won't.
You're not gonna make it.
You're not gonna make it. And they're like, well, we got to, and they just leave.
Right.
So Oliver's like, I'll talk to the Monitor. I know where his apartment's at. So he goes to the Monitor's apartment, and he's like, you got to spare them. You know, they're the best hope. It's not me. Stop looking at me as a champion. And then Monitor's like, well, there's gonna have to be an exchange to maintain the balance.
A life for a life of some sort.
Yes, and we don't find out what's going on there.
Or 2 lives, I would guess.
So Clark is still taking on Deegan.
I imagine that's the trade. It would have to be 2 lives for 2 lives.
I guess it depends on what on what needs to get done. Like if Ollie can get it done with that one body, I guess, you know, maybe that's all they need. But this is where
is that the deal the Monitor would take?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he seems all kind of like not good, not bad in this. So I don't even know how you can trust him as far as you can throw.
He's just a dude in the middle trying to get a job done.
That's all he is. Clark is joined by Lois, Brainy, and John. I think this is one of your favorite parts because Brainy's like, oh, wow, robot. Like an android.
I love Brainy.
Because Amazo's back, so now it's Amazo and Deegan against seemingly Martian Manhunter, Clark, and Brainy.
Brainy just kind of has this really like gleeful appreciation. Like, yes, I thank you for bringing me.
I wish he was green. Is he really blue in the comics?
I think he is.
Maybe that's what it is. I missed like the green, like Vril Dox from.
Do you have your DC universe?
The book, the encyclopedia is.
No, not the book. The
the DC universe
subscription.
Yes, I do.
Okay, I think I can find the episode for you because I think he is that color.
He might.
The one that's in the future that Supergirl meets up with.
The Legion of Superheroes version of. Okay, I dig it. Yeah, so they all come to fight, and now Barry's there, whatever, and this is where I am confused.
Okay.
I assumed Barry and Kara were going to die to save the Earth.
Yes.
So it wouldn't be an attempt. It would be an actual just a sacrifice to save the Earth, right? The deal that he makes with the Monitor is to allow them to live through that?
Yes.
And this is all orchestrated by the Monitor anyway, right?
To a degree.
What an odd test if you think that these people are going to be the saviors of humanity. Because if Oliver doesn't come, you killed them. They die to prove your point.
But maybe that's the failure.
You think Ollie's always supposed to come through and be like, I think life for life?
I think the idea of righteous sacrifice is the true test of them.
Oh, this universe saves itself through righteous sacrifice.
Yes.
It just so happens that in this instance, it would have been those two.
Yes.
But eventually, it will be someone.
Yes.
Someone will. Okay, I actually like that, but I better.
I think the idea that Ollie, potentially volunteers as tribute.
I've seen that once before.
Right. In order to keep these two people that are like, well, one is his friend and one is this woman he knows.
Yeah, right.
Who he regards as a hero to keep them alive and offer up something in return. Like, I think that's the passing grade.
I can see that.
You know, because like if Barry and Oliver just die, maybe the plan fails.
And there's a lot where I can see the Monitor assuming that the Barry Caraway is always going to be it.
Yes.
And he just seemingly keeps getting more impressed by Oliver's gumption.
Right.
To the point where he's like, oh, whatever, bro. If you want to
He's basically just like, you think with all your anger and vigor you just get to command a god? It's like, you're not a god. It's like, well, technically there isn't a word for what I am, so we're just gonna stick with God, yeah? You smartass.
You got, they mentioned Argo, which is a city in Krypton.
Yes. It was in this case. I think it is the bottled city, or the lost
the Kandor situation.
Yes,
I can see that. And
because it is the city they go to get the Heron L for the last season.
Yeah, and it's
which is now becoming a really awkward side plot for Lena.
You talking about the rain stuff?
Yes,
I got you. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. The Monitor allows Barry and Kara not to die because he could have stopped all this.
Sure.
All this, but whatever. He lets them not die. And then it's like the worst scuffle for this book. Which, in my mind, is like, this scuffle will be a lot easier with a speedster and another Kryptonian here. I feel like they could have got him. I feel like all of them together with Martian Manhunter.
I feel like Superman should have been able to rip that book out of his hands real easy, but like, okay, whatever.
There's the part where he like drops it and then he just picks it back up.
Yeah,
goes back to reading it.
And no, he turns it towards Superman.
Oh, okay, that's what it is. Yeah, blinds him. Like
it just like it pushes him back or whatever. And I was just like, for Superman, you really just sauntered over there. Because, like, after the time speeds back up, he catches Lois.
Yeah.
They have a moment, and then he goes to get the book. I was just like, you could have just...
Yeah. And it
like,
could
the
have all been done with.
speed that you made it over there when they breached over in Smallville.
Yeah.
Like, where was that? But the power of plot.
So many things. Same thing with Brainy and a homie. Like, I guess maybe because he wasn't a meta. Amazo couldn't just give him like at least kind of a fight. He beat the hell out of Amazo.
Well,
but I mean, it is what it is.
Intellect.
Anyway, they do manage to get the book when Oliver shoots the book with an arrow enhanced by the monitor.
The cosmic
arrow. The book has failed the city. Deegan gets heavily disfigured.
Gets turned into a scroll.
He basically gets turned into how he looks like in the comics, because he kind of like a skull face, like a scary skull.
It's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, and he just goes to jail. Reality is restored. Everybody's good. Everyone's saying their parting goodbyes. Clark and Lois tell Kara that they're having John, baby.
Yes.
We're getting John Kent. Can we get a Damien? Let's do this. Super Sons.
Can we not?
Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. You don't want to see Bruce's, test tube baby show up on Kate Kane's door. Like,
such a brat.
They sent me here for my dad. You're not. You got to babysit me. You got a real.
Such a jerk.
You got a real. I feel like that was a movie plot, but I can't remember.
I don't know.
But yeah, Clark wanted to tell Kara all the time that he wants to retire because Lois is having a baby and they're gonna go to Argo City so that she can have that baby. Is it that he
wants to retire, or that he just wants to take a break a while and deal with the gestation period?
I think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
I think it's the idea that he sees a lot in Kara, and
right.
because he sees that Kara can handle herself and Earth, that he can do both.
Okay.
Put the cape down and live in an environment where that baby would not rip through Lois Lane.
Right.
Just by kicking it.
I thought that was a nice little workaround where it's like, it's enough that we can't really explain away the fact that both of your DNAs were able to harvest the child.
Right.
But at least we could work around it. Like, no. If we take her to Argo, this will not kill her.
And I think they went to Argo together.
Yes.
Which also could probably explain how the conception happened.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
You got both the conception and
I don't think it explains the science of the conception as much as it explains.
Well, I'm gonna draw a picture for you. No, I'm
not.
That's why we gotta start doing this on video. Yeah. So they decided that they're gonna leave Earth to her. I felt like that was a roundabout way of saying we're not gonna see Superman for a while, and I really like that Superman. So.
See, what I want to see happen, or at least them try a little bit, is like, they made it a point that he is leaving completely. So, does Kara have to juggle two cities now?
That would explain why people think Luthor might be showing up.
They did cast him.
Right? If she has, and you know what, honestly, get her out of National City.
You think so?
National City seems like small town, big city. She's dealt with this. They know her. I want to see her go back into a place where people are not a little bit more hesitant. I don't want we vigilantes every season of Arrow, but
right.
I want to see her bump against an establishment that's already been there. National City loves her. Now she's doing the DEO stuff, but
Well, she just it looks like she's about to leave the DEO because she won't reveal herself.
Yeah. And because,
but I think that would be an interesting turn of events. So at least some sort of connective. I consider it's connective, but a consequence of Superman leaving and leaving her to defend both that city and hers.
And it'll also be cool if Luthor has enough intuition to know that,
right?
To be like, oh, Superman's not here.
He left. You see?
Understand? And go around and play with that stuff. That would be pretty damn cool.
Although, at some level, I don't want Lex to outshine Lena because we have spent so much time with Lena Luthor, and developing this character that's kind of been this slow burning potential heel turn that they tease every year.
Oh, it's gonna be heartbreaking when they do it, bro.
Oh yeah, totally.
I think that they have a lot of big guns left on Supergirl, and so if they're gonna give her the spotlight for a little while, I can dig it. Honestly, can, and maybe they are getting used to the idea that she deserves more of, because those first two crossovers barely gave her anything. I think they did think that her and her universe and the things that they've done on that show deserve more of a forefront in this Arrowverse.
Although, to her credit, though, she has the distinction of being able to also have her own private crossovers with Barry.
This is true.
Because they did do that twice before they did
with the singing one, and
the musical and the first World's Finest.
This is true. My boy Clark, because, I don't know, I'm going to jump to a conclusion that he had a good John Kent, had a good Martha Kent, you understand? I'm going to assume that this, I have the evidence to assume that this Clark was raised by good, God-fearing individuals. Because what happens after he realizes he knocked up Miss Lois Lane? He proposes. He crushes some coal, like he did in Superman 3 in front of Richard Pryor, and he proposes, and without even saying anything, she just says yes, she's with it. And we have another wedding, another crossover, another wedding. Yeah, now I gotta figure out if someone got engaged in the first crossover, in that invasion one.
No, they were all just in their like dream places
and fighting aliens.
And then they fought like they were like weird enemies.
I just remember the awkward Arrow episode because it was also Arrow 100, so they were also like trying to shove a lot of weird cameos.
We're gonna make
there.
All of our callbacks for the past few seasons.
Yeah.
Like here's Deathstroke, here's
all the callbacks to the show while being one show of 4 shows on this show. It was a lot. It was a lot, guys. So try not to do that again.
Right, which at least like they got. I guess we lucked out because like the Flash 100 was just before this.
Yeah,
so they got to do all their cameos early.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was deliberate because you know how early they filmed this stuff, so they got to space all that stuff out. But back on Earth, when Barry and Ollie are drinking, they stressed. Even though Barry admits that he can't get drunk.
Yeah. So technically, neither can Kara unless you get like the right kind of alien drink.
Alien B&B. That's all it is.
Right.
But they're talking about their adventure and all that kind of stuff, and they're like, well, you really got some things going on with you, and I respect you more, and I respect you more. It's a real big like conversation, propping each other up, realizing that they probably jumped to some conclusions about each other they shouldn't have. And that they are two sides of an essential coin, which I thought was pretty cool. It's basically a conversation that Batman and Superman would have. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad to see this budding friendship after all these years continue. And it turns out that if you look at the end of every one of these crossovers, Barry and Ollie end up in a bar. So I don't know. I guess this establishment is getting a lot of money once a year. I also like the Kara. This is like an annual thing. And she's like, no, that's not.
Yeah, that was pretty meta. Like we're just gonna point that out.
Really, really funny. And I like seeing Brainy next to Cisco.
Yeah.
That was also kind of cool. But as they're there, they get a call from Kate Kane who says that Deegan, who's in Arkham Asylum, has a best friend. And I was really trying to puzzle my head because I didn't think it was going to be who it was. I was like, who the hell deserves a post-credit reveal? You know what I'm saying? Like, Who could it be? Who could it be? And I'm not going to lie, because I had read the story and because I had read the other crises, the line drop of worlds will live, worlds will die, and the universe will never be the same. That's straight out of the comic. That's straight out of all the marketing material for that. That's straight out of, that's all Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Immediate title card.
And so is The Mask. And when all that came together, like, we talked a lot, even amongst us, the host of Major Issues, that they are getting playful with Crisis on Infinite Earths and taking things from it and borrowing and lending. But now they're just going to straight up do it.
Yeah.
Which is a triumph to me as to how far this has gotten, as how far this whole Arrowverse has gone. And I think one of these days...
This is the Infinity War of that TV show.
Definitely. It's going to be the culmination of all their hard work, the same way Infinity War was. And that's why I thought it was so apropos to cover this crossover, because they are doing great things at CW with these DC properties that maybe DC should be taking note of, because they have built the foundation on which they can put a Crisis.
It is earned.
Yes, it is. It's definitely earned. And we have affection for these characters. We understand these characters. And even an introduction like a Batwoman or Lois Lane, they get right off the bat. They get all their characteristics right off the bat. And we don't have to worry about... There was no emails showing these people. There was no, random exposition. Like, we got exactly what we needed from everyone here. And I thought this was a triumph. It wasn't perfect, but they do a great job meshing all these things together. And I really, really enjoyed it.
So here's my question.
Go ahead.
It's made very clear here that we're probably going to see a lot more Batwoman on the Arrow show.
Yes.
Does Kate Kane get her own TV show by the next cycle?
I think she does.
Going into Crisis.
I think she does. I think she should. And I also think, honestly, she should take some of the dead weight from the other shows with her. Yep.
Like,
take Dinah. I like Dinah, but if you're set on keeping...
You can't.
Siren?
I think she's stuck in that timeline because of the flash forwards.
But I would say, but if they're aware of the flash forwards, wouldn't that change things? I would just blame it on Nora. Maybe Nora doesn't. But the idea is that you don't need 2 Black Canaries on Arrow. You don't really even need Mr. Terrific. Mr. Terrific could be a tech guy on, because Felicity's a tech person on Arrow.
But
so
they're the outsiders.
They are. Maybe it needs to be Batwoman and the Outsiders.
Maybe.
That's
an idea.
Maybe they go that route. If they're giving Batman stuff to everybody, they might as well go that route with it.
But they've also teased the idea that maybe old Wild Dog should run for.
Oh yeah.
Run for office of some sort, even though you think with that
you can do anything in Star City. You can be a rich playboy and
criminal record.
You could be a rich playboy and become a mayor. You could have just murdered a person and become the DA. You could be an alcoholic, daily alcoholic, and just be the police chief captain.
Alcoholic.
And be a police chief captain who just pulls out a bottle of brandy every now and then from the.
Who then became deputy mayor.
Oh my God, out of control. Star City, you need to get your stuff together, please.
And I think Gotham's worse.
But more than Star City, DC, get your stuff together, because CW is killing it with these crossovers. But the next thing that we'll be covering here on the Major Issues podcast will be Aquaman. So we'll see if DC's got all their ducks in a row. They haven't come out with anything cinematic since Teen Titans Go to the Movies, and before then,
it's big in
Justice
China.
League. Yeah, we're big in China too. I think maybe. We're Big Trouble in Little China. How you like that? I have to give you one grown-worthy quote to leave off on this on. Any last parting words dealing with this very ambitious crossover or the future of what that Crisis is?
A part of a conversation we had all between us was that if I had any main concerns, it's that I don't want them to bloat Crisis on Infinite Earths too much. This was 3 hours of them juggling not only the main storyline of the crossover, but interjecting everyone else's personal journeys within the crossover.
Yeah, this is true.
The strained relationship between Oliver and Felicity. The weirdness of Kara and her identity crisis issue, also a Crisis book.
Yeah, right. Identity crisis. I don't want them to do that.
References.
Well,
no, but like that she's having an identity crisis.
Yeah.
Being pushed to
reveal
herself.
Yeah.
Whatever the stuff it is that's going on in Flash, like with his daughter and everything else, they barely bring that up in this, honestly.
Do you want a Batman?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Okay.
Because I have championed the CW as being a place where they are free of these massive things that constantly overshadow them.
Yeah.
Like you can't have these characters in a Batman, in a universe that has Batman and Superman, because everyone's just going to want Batman and Superman.
Well, it's actually,
it's that magnetic draw you can't avoid.
DC, knowing that Batman and Superman have been their most profitable superheroes, although I think that that's a case of just mismanaging some of those heroes.
Certainly.
They have chosen, definitely from the 70s upwards, to revolve majority of their stories around these people.
Yes.
So even if you pick up
We've had book or a new Batman story, movies.
And how many Batman books?
Ugh.
You understand? Like, so they've revolved, and it makes sense. They make money from
started. There was like 5 Batman books.
There was a lot.
Because we had Batman, we had Detective, we had Batman and Robin,
Batman
we had
Eternal.
Batman The Dark Knight, Batman Eternal.
Yeah, man. There was a lot. Yeah, there was a lot of Batman comics.
I heard you like Batman, so we put some Batman in your Batman.
That's it. They pimped our Batman books, but yeah, I honestly do get that. I would like to see. I mean, I would have seen
just
Gotham.
like them for Crisis. I would just like them for Crisis on Infinite Earths to cut the fat of everyone else's like personal particular like
by killing them.
Well, no, but cut the fat of
these like tangential ties they have.
These tangential ties and like forcing all of the side characters in so they can all have dialogue. I'm like, no, superheroes, Anti-Monitor, just stick to the format.
Yeah.
Fight.
That
the
means
big
you got to
thing.
open it. You have to open that crossover with everyone who's not essential either being wiped away or just the heroes being put where the Anti-Monitor is, and then you got to deal with any of that stuff.
That's fine, or at least just give me a short lead into all of it and get straight to it. I don't need to see Caitlin and Felicity sit down and have a talk about Oliver.
Yeah,
when we're like dealing with this big thing right now.
Especially when Caitlin doesn't know Oliver, like
right,
couldn't point them out in the lineup, like
right.
But it is what it is. I think it's incredibly ambitious, but I look forward to what else they're gonna do, and I do also look forward to.
I would like it to be a TV movie instead of a 3-show thing.
I dig that too.
I would like it to just be like this CW movie event, 2 hours, Crisis on Infinite Earths, bring your kids.
Yeah, I wonder if they fold in the Legends and Black Lightning for that as well.
I can do with Black Lightning not being in it, but mostly because he is so grounded that he doesn't need to be involved in this massive shit.
Although they just did that story where there's like an alien thing controlling half the town.
I guess, yeah.
And stuff. So they might be playing up that whole, like, by the time you got to Arrow season 4, there was magic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I wonder if they're starting off grounded.
Everyone hates.
I wonder if they're starting off grounded and they're going to start playing around and all that other kind of stuff.
Maybe.
But yeah, this was one hell of a crossover. This was one hell of an episode. And that was one hell of an Avengers trailer. But Aquaman is next on deck. Aqua H2O, and he will be, that movie comes out on the 21st, but we will have a fresh review for you guys on the 19th, spoiler free to start it off, and then a big helping of spoilers right off the back for those who've seen it. You understand? But if you want to see or listen to other episodes of the Major Issues Podcast, you can find the Major Issues Podcast wherever podcasts are found. That's Podbean, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Google Play, the Apple Podcast app on your phone. If you have an iPhone, you already have the podcast app. Just search Major Issues, or hell, go to Google and search Major Issues Podcast, and we're the first ones that pop right up while you're there. Give some of our episodes a listen. We cover all things to do with comic books and comic book media. And how about you leave us a nice little rate and review under our Christmas tree? Yes. Rate and review this podcast is the quickest way for us to learn what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong and what you guys, the audience, wants. Don't forget to go to tpublic/user/comicbook clique to get the merch for Comic Book Clique. I'm going to include that link in the show notes. But don't forget that to reach Comic Book Clique, all you have to do is go to facebook.com/comicbookclique, Instagram @comicbookclique, or use the hashtag comicbookclique to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. I am at Major Issues CBC.
I am at Rebirth GT.
And you can talk to us on Twitter about all things comic book related. Let us know what you're thinking. 3 o'clock in the morning, you come up with something. Let us know how you're feeling about this Titans show, how you feeling about War of the Realms, how you feeling about all this stuff that's coming down. What you thinking about this Avengers trailer? Let us know. Let us know. But I think that this has been a hell of an episode and a hell of a way to start a brand new phase of Major Issues. But I am George Serrano, a.k.a. The Don.
I am Gregory Thomas, a.k.a. GT Rebirth.
And this has been our Avengers Endgame trailer and CW crossover recap and review. And remember, whether you wake up in this reality or the next, whether you wake up next to your best friend's wife and you don't want him to walk in, whether you have to give one of your ex-wives an alimony check from Earth 32, or whether
you've come to bargain.
And don't forget, you might be just that super. Man, did you see all those cameos on that show? Whether you have ice powers, whether you're an android that can replicate technology, whether you're holding the book of destiny, or you're just one of us trapped in a crisis, remember, we are the Clique. Oliver's gonna die, and you, and you, yes, you are worthy.